Good morning. The Board of Appeal for Tuesday, July 25th is now in session. Just a reminder, please make sure your cell phones are off. I should turn mine off too. Also, if you need to have conversations, please take them outside of the room because it's very difficult for us to hear people presenting at the table. Can you guys hear us? Yes? Okay. Also, a reminder that if you're here before this board, please address the issues, the zoning issues that are listed on the violation letter. We take the advice of the BRA and the mayor's office under consideration, but we'd like to hear from you. So if you're here to testify, give us new information. Please do not repeat what somebody else has already said. Give us new information so that'll help us make our decision. In conformance with the open meeting law, this meeting is being live streamed. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first order of business is the approval of the hearing minutes. We did not get them, so we will take care of them at next month's meeting. So we'll call the first case for extension, calling BOA 464-137, 20 Ashburton Place. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Mike Ross. I'm an attorney at Princelow Bell. I represent Farrow's Properties. My client was going to be here this morning, but he had a last-minute illness. Alex Leventhal, his partner, Jeremy Leventhal. The project was approved here 2 years ago for an extension, a height variance, and 2 conditional use permits regarding the parking. And the reason I'm before you today asking for an extension is, frankly, because of a very strong economy. The entire project was released by my client quickly after he just did some minor improvements to the building, 20 Ashburton, up kind of near the State House, an older property that he put a little capital into, and as a result was able to release the entire building. They wanted me to come back and seek an extension because they do believe that they might be able to still go forward with the 3 floors on top of the building. It would require an agreement with the tenant that's currently in there, but he thinks that he can do that, move them down a floor, and actually do some of the work while the tenants are still in the building. And we're looking into that right now.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for a 1-year extension.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case for board final arbiter, calling BOA 560-912, 100 West 2nd Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Artist Humanity Incorporated, 100 West 2nd Street in South Boston.
What's your name?
Drew Mata.
Please tell us what the appeal is here, what the board final arbiter is here for.
We had gone through Zoning Board of Appeals for a previous project, but because of some economic difficulties, we had to scale back the project over the past 6 months. And during that time, our project is no longer within the South Boston Interim Planning Overlay District, and the underlying zoning has changed. So we are requesting an approval for the parapet setback of our project.
Is this a new approval?
It's a review of a final process that our parapet setback is in violation by about 16 inches.
16 inches?
Yes, ma'am.
And this was through design review?
Yes.
Do you have revised plans, Mr. Pisani?
We have no documentation.
Okay.
Motion for, this should be deferred to the next hearing. Let them come in with documentation. I don't know what the issue is. Haven't seen the drawings, haven't seen anything.
Okay. So please come in with revised drawings.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it's deferred to next week at 9:30.
Thank you.
What's the date on
2 weeks, I'm sorry, and please get the drawings ahead of
So
time.
August 15th. Call of the chair, board final arbiter, calling BOA 696-981, 317 Belgrade Avenue. Name and address for the record, please.
Lucio Trabuco, Trabuco Architects. Michael Ford, developer.
And John Morosi, developer.
Okay, is somebody here from the mayor's office? Because the last that I recall, there was supposed to be outreach to the community to ensure that everybody was in agreement with the proposed design. Can we have assurance that that community process did happen?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. As recommended by the board, there was additional community process to clarify the uncertainty whether they were, the neighborhood was supportive of the removal of the proviso. Neighborhood Services notified all the direct abutters and hosted a community meeting, and there was no community opposition.
Okay, so may I have a motion, please?
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, motion to approve
Just with design review.
with BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling the next case on G-Card, calling BOA 723-406, 95 Brookline Avenue. Name and address for the record, please.
Doug Barletta, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, 330 Brookline.
Mark Jackson with VHB, 99 High Street. So we're here to propose, it's an existing loading dock at 95 Brookline Avenue. And we're replacing the existing dock with the new one and repaving the vehicular area. And with that, we tripped the Article 32, and we're providing 1-inch infiltration over the entire loading dock and paved area. And with that, we have BWC approval as well as a letter confirming Article 32 compliance.
Thank you. Christian?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Christian Simonelli, Groundwater Trust. I met with the applicant prior to the hearing, reviewed the plans. Those plans were submitted to Water and Sewer and currently before them, so I'm just requesting a hold for signature at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
For approval, hold for signature.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling Building Code, calling case BOA 723-479, 49 East Concord Street. The call for the record, construct a new roof deck with hatch access. Roof access where stairway is provided to occupied roof for a 4-story building. Access is said to be, said occupied roof must be through a penthouse. 1021, number of exits and continuity. All spaces within each story shall have an approved independent number of exits specified. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Norberto Leon, and I'm the architect of record. And I'm at 255 North Road in Chelmsford, Mass.
So tell us, is this related to give us the background on this?
Okay, so we submitted drawings for a permit, and the drawings were rejected because of this issue with the penthouse, and then the number of exits out of the 3rd floor. We tried to explain to the, we went through landmarks, and they explained to us that we were not going to get an approval to put a penthouse on the roof. It's going to be an occupied roof deck. And so we went to DPS asking for some clarification, some relief on the use of the penthouse, and also some clarification on the number of exits. We're actually upgrading the building. We're providing sprinklers in this building. It's a residential building, 3 units. And so today we're only here for the roof access issue. DPS is already...
This roof deck and penthouse is as of right, or it's pre-existing? What is it?
Well, there's already a roof hatch there existing, and I don't know if you have our whole submittal, but we have photographs of the existing roof hatch, and we also go into some detail about, what the issue is. By code, if the building is 4 stories, it triggers the requirement for a penthouse. However, what we're...
Hold on 1 minute.
Sure.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani? Can you explain what's going on?
He's absolutely correct. This has been in the code for a while, but it is now being enforced, shall we say. And the code is clear that for a 4-story building, you need a stair, an enclosed stair going all the way up. This access is only for this unit, though, is it?
Yes, it's only for the top unit. You are correct. It's not common space at all.
Right.
And on record with the city of Boston, this building is classified as a 3-story building, not a 4-story building. And we also have some drawings in our submittal that show, that it's actually 3 stories above the finish grade from East Concord Street.
But does the site slope down East Concord and the alley?
The alley is further down, but
how much does it slope? Roughly 5 feet?
maybe about 4 or 5 feet, I would say. But really, I mean, fire department access would be from East Concord Street. There's no way that you could get through the alley. I mean, there's no way a fire truck is getting there, or ladders or anything. So that's basically,
So you're caught between a rock and a hard place right now because you have the code requirement, building code requirement on one hand, and South End Landmarks saying.
And South End
no,
Landmarks.
and I understand that their predilection is always for the hatch rather than for the house.
Right, and Article 32 is also prohibiting us from that penthouse of the.
Why is Article 32?
I'm sorry, 64.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So we're basically caught in between these two worlds right now, and we think that the hatch, I mean, it's a very safe setup that we have. We are providing a stair up to the roof deck. It's just the penthouse we can't build, but we do have a hatch. It's one of those hatches with a mechanism that, with springs that opens up, very easily. So we believe it's safe. We are updating the building with new sprinklers. So we're looking to get some relief and see what you guys think.
Is the issue that the stairway that's inside the apartment that goes up to the hatch, it's not enclosed? Is that the issue?
It is enclosed because it's under the hatch, and it is a stair that
you don't have walls on.
Well, we have walls on one side, but not.
That's what I heard.
I mean, it's inside this hallway space.
But it's inside the unit.
But it's inside the unit, correct?
It is not a rated egress stair for the building.
No.
So can we have a resolution on this?
I'm going to make a motion to grant the building code relief.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set?
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much. Have a nice
Before
day.
we call the 9:30 cases, are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 9:30? That's a first. So we'll call the first case, calling BOA 704-394-4281 Washington Street. This is to raise the existing wood structure, erect a new 4-story, 12-unit residential building. There will be an at-grade parking garage built under the building. Violation of Article 67, Section 11. Accessory parking for residential use is located on the first story is conditional. Article 67, Section 32, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 67, Section 12, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 67, Section 12, the building height is excessive. Article 67, Section 12, the building height, number of stories, is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. John Pulgini, 10 Forbes Road, Braintree. With me this morning is Anthony Rascido from Corville Construction, who's the owner-developer of the project, along with his architect, Mark Joyce.
So please tell us what's being proposed.
So first of all, there's a building code violation that we will, we're going to remove that violation. So at this point, we would.
A motion for building code relief tonight.
It's not on our agenda, so all we're dealing with today is just the violations.
Okay, sure. So the zoning in this neighborhood is neighborhood shopping. If you're familiar with the area, it's kind of commercial. Currently sits a furniture repair upholstery store, a 5,700 square foot lot. The zoning under neighborhood shopping is 35 feet. The proposal before you this morning is 40 feet. Zoning is 3 stories. Before you is 4 stories. Parking in Rosendale is 2. We have a parking of 1-to-1 ratio of 12 parking spaces. Total square footage of the building is 23,500.
Sorry?
I'm sorry,
How much?
total square footage
Yes,
is 23,500.
okay.
And the layout of this, there's going to be 4 units per floor, 2 one-bedroom units. Those will range in size from 600 to 763 square feet with 1 full bath. And the 2 two-bedroom units on each floor will be approximately 950 square feet with 2 full baths. We went through neighborhood services, had an abutters meeting that was very supportive from the neighborhood, and I think the mayor's office as well as some city councilors are here to speak on behalf.
Out of curiosity, one of the violations is accessory parking for residential use located on the 1st story.
Correct.
What triggers that?
So it's kind of unusual that would actually come up. I'd done some research on that. Because it hasn't come up on other projects. Under neighborhood shopping was always believed, at least through ISD, that the violation was that you could not have residential on the 1st floor. You could have accessory parking to it, but I think what they're doing is extending it over, saying that accessory parking is a conditional use for residential units. But in all the other projects that I've done a number of neighborhood shopping projects that has not come up.
Where in Rosendale is this? Is it just outside of the square?
It is. Actually, it's right outside the square. Bank of America right across this, Trethaway Brothers Oil is across the street.
Yeah, okay. And did this go through Article 80? Was it?
It's too small.
It's too small. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dan Murphy from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. As recently mentioned, they did have a community process, all supportive of their proposal into the neighborhood. I would just like to echo some of the community sentiments about allocating the available parking to the people that reside in the building.
Why wouldn't that happen?
I'm not 100% certain. I know that some are inquiries from the community regarding other developments say that some of the property managers and owners of the building don't allocate the parking to the people that live there, and it filters off to on-street parking.
And I can address it. These are condominiums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Walter.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Walter Applewhite, Councilor McCarthy's office. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan. On behalf of the Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, Council going on record support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 710-535, 16 Heathcote Street.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I recuse myself from this case.
This is vertical addition to extend living space to the attic in an existing single-family residential dwelling. Construct a front deck, rear deck, and bay windows in an interior renovation. The violations, Article 67, Section 9, the excessive floor area ratio. Article 67, Section 9, the excessive building height of stories. Article 67, Section 9, insufficient side yard. Article 67, insufficient rear yard. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Stuart Schreier. My address is 1005 Dorchester Avenue in Dorchester. I represent Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson, who are with me here.
And just for the record, Mr. Pisani has recused himself.
The Stevensons live in the neighborhood for several years. They've lived across the street in a very small home. They bought this home because it was somewhat larger. The house is, if you look at the very last page of the papers we gave you, the existing condition is it's a blue home. There was an addition put on, a front porch that's enclosed. They're going to open that porch up to make it look like a normal farmer's porch. So they're taking away the porch area in the front. That's going to make it appear more of a setback house to match the building alignment.
Shari, what is triggering these violations?
Well, what's triggering it is the biggest problems are, number one, the floor area ratio. After they finish the attic, they'll be at 0.65, and the allowed floor area ratio in that zone is 0.5. So it'll be slightly over on floor area. The other bigger problem is this is a 2.5-story zone. The height you're allowed is 35 feet. They will be under that. They'll be at 31 feet. But it's a 2.5-story. Once you put a mansard, now you really consider it a three floor. And if I could explain the reason.
And the side and rear yard insufficiency is just because it's existing.
It's the existing conditions. Can I explain the reason?
Hold on 1 minute. How are the plans, Mr. Ehrlich?
The drawings are excellent.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dan Murphy from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Conducted an abutters meeting. There was no opposition to the project, so I'd like to go on record of support.
Thanks, Dan.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Walter Applewhite, Councilor McCarthy's office. We'd also like to go on record of support.
Hi, my name is Bill Coyne. I live at 15 Heathcote Street, so I'm right across the street. I'm looking right at the house. I've been there since 1985, and I just want to say Joel and Catherine have been wonderful additions to the neighborhood, the block party. Neighborhood kids are always going over to their house, so the house isn't just them. Really, a lot of the neighborhood kids are there too. It is a large house. It's always been large. It's surrounded on either side. There are duplexes, so it's really not out of character. And I like the way the design looks, so I hope you will approve it.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review. Second. Good luck.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Calling BOA 715-581-44 Lockdale Road. This is a 3-story addition totaling 49,822 square feet. Will be added to the existing self-storage building at 44 Lockdale Road. Violations Article 67, Section 67-15. The floor area ratio is excessive. And Article 67, Section 67-15, the height is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Secretary, and members of the board. My name is Andrew Cara. I'm an attorney here in Boston at Rubin and Rudman, having an address of 50 Rose Wharf. I'll let the other members of the project team to my right introduce themselves.
My name is Drew Popoli. I'm with the owner of the building, the Grossman Companies, 859 Willard Street, Quincy.
Kevin Nice, SN Consulting Group. We are the architect for the building, 892 Worcester Street, Suite 200, Wellesley.
We're here before you this morning to seek your approval for a proposed 3-story addition to an existing self-storage facility located at 44 Lockdale Road in the Roslindale neighborhood of Boston. The addition would be approximately 49,822 square feet in size. The subject property is bounded on the north by Lockdale Road, on the south by Marlow Road, on the west by an MBTA rail line, and to the east, the property is 2 lots in from Washington Street. The property contains an existing self-storage facility that's 2 stories and has existed since 2004. The proposed addition will be located on the Marlow Road side of the property in the existing parking area and connected to the existing storage building. The property is located within a local industrial zoning district under Article 67 of the code. The area immediately adjacent to the property contains a number of other industrial and commercial uses, including Cataldo Ambulance and Boston Animal Care and Control. While the underlying use is allowed as of right, the project requires variances for excess of floor area ratio at 1.79 versus 1.0 and excessive height at 41.5 feet versus 35 feet. The project received BPDA Small Project Review approval on June 15, 2017. The project will help greatly modernize the existing storage facility by providing a new facade into the building. It will also take 15 exterior parking spaces and put 35 spaces in the interior of the building. There'll also be 2 interior loading docks created to allow for more safer access of the storage facility. The project will greatly help enhance the aesthetics of the street by providing the new facade. There'll also be a white roof and certain other LEED improvements to help, again, improve the aesthetics of the streets. Finally, the appellant has made a grant to the Livable Streets Alliance in connection with Walk Up Rosendale to help create new walking paths to the adjacent arboretum. That's to the east of the property.
Okay, so tell us what the total number of storage units will be.
Right now, there's 350 storage units. Depending on the final layout of the project, that capacity will most likely be increased by 75%. So there'll be an additional 300 units, most likely.
Okay, and is there enough parking for those number of units?
Yes, we believe based on our experience with the property, the storage use, it's not terribly parking intensive at the end of the day. We feel the increase from 15 spaces to 35 spaces will sufficiently satisfy the demand for parking.
Could you say the number of existing units and the number of projected units?
There's 350 existing storage units. Depending on the final layout of the project, there'll be approximately 300 new units.
It seems like the square footage of the addition is bigger.
So total
It is. It's absolutely bigger. The existing building is...
So why wouldn't there be more storage units? Are each one of them larger in size?
Exactly, depending on the size and the hallways.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? And Mahler is a two-way street, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Daniel Murphy from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services would like to go on record of support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Walter Applewhite, Council Tim McCarthy's office. We'd like to go on record as support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling BOA 700-713, 43 Goldsmith Street. This is to extend living space into the attic for Unit 3 in the existing three-family dwelling, construct a new front dormer, and add new skylights. The violations, Article 55, Section 9, the floor-to-air ratio is excessive. Article 55, Section 9, the building height, number of stories is excessive. And Article 55, Section 9, the rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Jason Lagorga. Address is 631 LaGrange Street. I'm the project architect for Todd Buffum at 43 Goldsmith.
So tell us what's being proposed.
Currently, it's a 3-unit building with unfinished attic space, which is deeded to Todd and his wife. What we're proposing is finishing off that existing attic space into a master suite. The variances that we're seeking are for the excessive floor area ratio, excessive height, and rear yard insufficiency.
Tell us what's the increase in FAR and height?
So in terms of FAR, they're required at 0.6 or limited at 0.6. The building itself right now is at 1.29. The finished space that we would like to add pushes it up to 1.52. In terms of the height, they are capped at 3 stories and 35 feet. We're actually at 33.95 feet, but because we don't meet the half-story definition, the space that we hope to finish in the attic is actually counted as a 4th story, but we don't exceed the actual height. And on the back, the rear yard setback, we're required to have 20 feet. The existing structure is at 10.8 feet. The dormer that we're proposing is at 13.2 feet. And that dormer is mainly to get the 80-inch clear head height above the existing stair for access.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Alexandra Valdez, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We held an abutters meeting on May 8th. Everyone seemed to be in support. They seek support from the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Council as well as the zoning board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Andrew Balbazan from the Office of City Councilor Matt O'Malley. I'd like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of the Council at Large Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval, BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 679-066, 6 Laffield Street. There is a companion case, BOA 679-070, 10 Laffield Street. Are these both together?
Yes.
Okay. This is for, did I just give you 6 by mistake? Double check. This is for 6 Laffield Street. This is to construct a 10-foot easement driveway between houses to propose 4 off-street parking. Violations Article 65, Section 65-41, off-street loading and requirements. And this is for 10 Laffield. This is to construct a 10-foot easement driveway between 2 houses to propose 4 off-street parking. The violations Article 65, Section 41, off-street parking, loading and requirements. Name and address for the record, please.
Foster Bates, 10 Laffield Street, Dorchester, Massachusetts, 02122.
And are you the owner at 6 or 10 Laffield?
This is 6.
I'm the owner of 6 Laffield.
And is 10 here too?
Yes.
You're 10, okay. Thank you. So tell us what you guys are proposing.
Well, we're just proposing to put a curb cut in and a driveway between the 2 houses. We did all the due diligence work to have this done. And we just waiting to get approval from the zoning board. We're gonna have 4 cars on this side park, 4 cars on that side park.
So this driveway would serve both houses and the parking would be in the rear yard?
Yes.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate, the dimensions work.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is David Cotter from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Would like to go on record in support. We held an on-site abutters meeting that was supported by those in attendance, and they also have the support of the St. Mark's Civic Association. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Amanda Curley, Councilor Baker's office. We'd like to go on record in support.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set. This is going to be registered at the Registry of Deeds?
It's already done.
It's already done.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 666-622, 1607 Dorchester Avenue. This is to install a canopy over a pump island. Violations Article 9, Section 1, extension of a non-conforming use. Article 65, Section 9, front yard setback is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 8, a pre-existing non-conforming. Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Eddy, 1607 Dorchester Ave, requesting a deferral. I was informed I need to meet with the Melville Ave neighborhood group still.
So you haven't had any community meetings yet?
I've had 2 different meetings. One, the neighborhood where I hand the abutters the paperwork that was held at the business, and St. Mark's up the street so far.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Move deferral.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please, Mr. Fortune?
Yes, we're working on that right now. We are actually September 19th.
Okay?
Thank you.
See you September 19th at 11:30.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 720-513, 10 Tucker Street. This is to combine and subdivide of 2 lots, erect a two-story, two-family dwelling on a new 5,923 square foot. Proposed project is part of the D&D Neighborhood Housing Initiative Program. Violations Article 10, Section 1, limitation of area of accessory uses. Article 60, Section 40, off-street parking design and maneuverability. Name and address for the record, please.
Jim Bravato, 16 Russellwood Road in West Roxbury.
So tell us what's being proposed.
This is, the D&D owns 2 parcels, about 9,000 square feet. D&D's worked extensively with the abutters on this, and so we're going to combine the 2 parcels and deed over about 3,300 square feet to the abutter for a side yard, and we're going to place the new house that we're building under the New Homes Initiative on the approximately 5,900 square foot lot.
So is there an existing house on the property?
No,
No.
all
Okay.
vacant land.
And so the lots, what's the size of each lot?
The two lot, the one, it's going to be 5,923 square feet will be the remaining lot that we'll build the house on, and 3,300 square feet will be deeded to the abutter.
I see, okay. And your violations are accessory use, is that because there's a garage?
Right, the design of these houses does not have a garage, has off-street parking. We have one curb cut, we're going to have 2 tandem parking spaces, and this is really, it's a 2-family house, no problems in parking in the area. There's a community garden around the corner, and so this was the layout that D&D and I agreed upon with the community.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Ellison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. On behalf of Ruth Georges, we'd like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sean Cheatham, Councilor Andrea Campbell's office. We'd also like to go on record in support. Thanks.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the board. John Feuerbach, Senior Development Officer for the Department of Neighbor Development. As mentioned, it's city land, and we're providing funds for the project, so we support the project.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Calling BOA 683-224, 113 Pleasant Street. This is to demo the existing rooftop deck to repair roofing rubber membrane underneath, to rebuild the roof larger than the current. The violations, Article 65, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Pesantes at 113 Pleasant Street in Dorchester.
Will you be speaking?
Yes.
Your name and address?
Carlos Pereira, 81 Bailey Road, Somerville, Massachusetts. I'm the contractor.
So please tell us what's being proposed.
Madam Chair, if I may, do you have drawings? We do not have drawings of this project.
It was under our impression that you guys would have the drawings. With the flood we had last week, our drawings got wet. We didn't get a chance to print the secondary drawings.
Motion for deferral.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please?
We can get you August 29th.
We'll see you August 29th at 11:30 and please submit plans ahead of time.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 719-027, 114 to 120 Brookside Avenue. This is new construction, mixed-use building with 9 residential units, 11 parking spaces, and 3 commercial spaces. The violations, Article 55, Section 55-40, off-street parking is insufficient. Article 55, Section 19, multifamily residential is forbidden in an L1 sub-district. Article 55, Section 20, the Florida area ratio is excessive. Article 55, Section 20, the building height is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Drago, attorney for the applicant of Drago and Toscano, with an address of 15 Broad Street. I also have Cheryl Tagayas, the architect, with me. We're here seeking zoning relief to demolish an existing one-story, very outdated structure at 114-120 Brookside to erect a 4.5-story mixed-use building that would include 9 condominium units and 3 commercial spaces. 2 of the 3 commercial spaces will be affordable commercial as part of an MOU with the existing tenants of the building. We've actually had an extensive community process, outreach process on this project over a year period, coming down from 19 units down to the 9 units that you see. The lot size is 9,820 square feet. This particular zoning district is zoned for local industrial. The proposed gross square footage is 16,640 square feet. The highest point is 42 feet 7 inches to the top of the 4th floor, and then we have a 7 inches, 42 feet 7 inches to the 4th floor, and then we had also, as part of working with the community, put a community room for the residents on the top floor. That goes up to 53 feet 1 inch in height. The violations, as mentioned, because it's local industrial, a mixed use is triggered. The FAR allowable is 1, we're at 1.7. Obviously, the height being 35 feet, 3 stories, we're at 53. And then the parking required to be 14, we are at 11. So we were able to include 11 interior parking spaces as part of this project. We were fortunate to work with the Brookside Amory Group to get their support, which I had provided a letter, as well as the JPNC board as well. The unit sizes are mixed between 3-bed, 2-bath, and then some 2-bed, 2-bath. The commercial spaces that are located on the first floor go into the basement as well, and they are 770 square feet, 650 and 965. As I mentioned, the tenants that currently are housed in that building would get first preference, and they're set at an affordable rate as well. I can pause now to answer any questions that the board may have.
I don't even know, what does it mean to have affordable commercial?
So there were concerns from the existing tenants, some of which are artists, some are machine workers, some are sculptors, to make sure that folks in that area were set an affordable rent. So in this case, it's $10 a square foot, and the developer would also...
But that's simply a private MOU?
Yes, correct. I'm just mentioning it was a...
The city is not?
No, city is not involved in that at
And
all.
does this look to be in perpetuity?
It's for 15-year period.
15 years?
Yes.
And are they like artist studios? Is that the idea, or what?
Well, it's not just for artists. It could be for, there's a photo shop that's in there now. It's a machine shop that's in there, a cleaning company. So it's really to preserve some of the folks that are in the area.
And what is the intended use of the rooftop? It's a pretty sizable...
Yeah, I can let Cheryl kind of touch upon that.
At the moment, it's allocated where it would be. The idea would be that it would be subdivided with planters and landscape and furnishings, really just as an outdoor space and amenity space for the residents of the building.
But there's also an occupied space.
Right. We had that, in order to have the roof deck be accessible, the elevator goes up and the means of egress, the 2 stairs go up. So we had the 2 volumes already there, and we felt it would be a nice amenity just to connect those volumes and have that enclosed space so people using the roof deck could come inside, and that it provides the vestibule for the elevator as well.
So it's open, accessible to all the units in the building?
Correct.
And
And
how,
the overall height of the penthouse or top floor is what?
53.1, isn't that?
That was 53 feet 1.
53 feet 1. At the ridge, it's 42.7.
And what's the square footage of that space?
I think it's about 460 square feet.
That's correct. And there would be no, it would just be used as sitting area. There's no gas, power, or water, or anything to be housed in there.
Just for my edification, how do you, once you classify a commercial space as below rent, it's not the same as the units, right? I mean, it doesn't go into the pool for commercial space. The spaces would be dedicated to the individuals that are already there, or how does that work?
So it would be a lottery system privately for the individuals that are there for a 15-year period. And there's been strong interest from the folks there.
And I'm suspecting that if there is no demand for commercial use, given all the construction on Washington Street and issues with renting space on Green Street, that this could easily be turned into a residential unit?
Yes, but that is not our intention. It's strictly commercial. We've made that loud and clear to the community as a whole. And if one of the particular tenants, or none of the tenants, because there's 10 that are in that building now, did not want it, we would offer it to the community, somebody else at that same rate.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any additional questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Alexandra Valdez, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. I would like to go on record to support the project seek approval for the Jamaica Plain Zoning Committee as well as the Brookside Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Andrew Baldazan from the Office of City Councilor Matt O'Malley. I'd like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, we have City Council at Large Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Chair of the board, Omer Heck, 120 Brookside. I'm actually a tenant in this building, and I'm here in support of this project. And in a very brief note, this is a project that shows that with some creative use, displacement in new development in Jamaica Plain can be mitigated or minimized by offering some kind of benefit to existing tenants or lower rent residents, commercial tenants. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm an educator and artist who lives in JP and works at 128 Brookside, which is the abutting building.
And what is your home address?
43 Lords Ave.
Okay.
I actually have a statement by an artist in the building who couldn't.
No, if you could please just put the artist's name and address on the record and summarize for us what the concern is, and then put the letter into the record.
Okay, Sheila Gallagher, and she works at 128 Brookside Ave and is the resident of 31 Oakview Terrace in Jamaica Plain. The proposed residential use is not permitted under current zoning. The zoning exists specifically to protect tenants who rely on availability of industrial space. The proposed use does not conform to the recent adopted JP Rocks plan, which after extensive community process and approval by the BPDA, board reaffirmed light industrial uses on this site, in particular citing support of artists and artisans. The parcel does not qualify for status as a residential development area, which is one of the mechanisms the JP Rocks plan has advised to both allow and limit residential use conversions. The proposal has not undergone Article 80 review or other proper community reviews. In the absence of any such process, the JP Rocks plan, which involve deep community engagement and which will be the basis for changing the zoning, should be the guide to the outcome of this appeal. Many an artist, craftspeople whose primary place of work is in the building will be displaced. The tiny workspaces offered in the proposal are a fraction of the existing space and will not support meaningful artist activity. Lastly, the proponent is not complying by the proponent is not compelled by any legally recognized hardship, geographic, financial, or otherwise, to demolish a structure housing legally permitted use, to erect a building intended for non-conforming ones that are inconsistent with the existing zoning and in contradiction to a detailed plan recently ratified by the BPDA. To this end, I respectfully request the developer be denied the variances.
Thank you. Is anybody else here to speak in opposition? Your name and address, please.
My name is Robert Todd. I live at 57 Cornwall, which is at the corner of Brookside and Cornwall. And I'm a member of a group of artists that live in the area, and I'm speaking in support of Sheila Gallagher's letter.
Okay, thank you. Given that information, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Calling BOA 707-854, 100 Jamaica Street. And living space into the third floor for Unit 2. Violations, Article 55, Section 9. The floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Jin Chung, 71 McBride Street, Jamaica Plain.
Chris Reed, 71 McBride Street, Jamaica Plain.
So please tell us what's being proposed.
This is for existing two-family. There's an existing third-floor attic, and we're looking to expand to the third floor. And I think it's the floor-to-area ratio variance.
Okay, so tell us what the required FAR is and what it'll end up being with this addition.
Not sure we know that information. We have about, if you look on the second page, that's the current attic space. It's about 588 square feet. About 400 square feet of that is usable, and we're looking to expand 340 square feet.
And what's the floor-to-ceiling height?
On that floor, it's about 6 foot 4 inches.
6'4"?
It's
yeah.
10 feet 5 in the middle.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate, but the question does revolve around exactly what you're getting for floor-to-ceiling height.
It's
We had, I believe we had our plans looked at 1010.
I know, it's a simple question. What's the floor to ceiling height?
I'm sorry, my father is helping us with this, so he would have that particular. The plans were looked at though.
So did you say at the peak it was 10.5?
Yeah,
And and at what point does it become 6.4 if we look at, okay. So if we
That's
look
in
at this proposed plan, we see where it's 4.5.
It's
So
the
Mr.
dotted lines.
6.4 is I'm sorry, is indicated right at the threshold door entryway leading down.
And so you're proposing a laundry, a bathroom, and a family room up there?
Yes, if you turn to the third page, the second floor currently has a bathroom that doesn't have a window. And the living room is small, it's 12 by 12 with a kitchen, and it's really hard to configure a living room up there. So it would be hopefully combining the second and third floor so that the family room would be on the third floor.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Alexandra Valdez, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We held an abutters meeting with no opposition, as well as the Jamaica Plain Zoning Council, and received approval. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Andrew Baldazan from the Office of City Councilor Matt O'Malley. Let's go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council at Large Michael Flaherty, Councilor to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dave Vittorini, on behalf of City Council President Michelle Wu, we'd also like to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to grant the relief requested with the following proviso, that no building code relief be granted. I'm concerned about the head height on the stairs. You're supposed to have 6'8" clear.
And the second, is there another proviso?
Well, it's all internal, so.
Okay. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set with that proviso.
Calling the last case for 9:30, BOA 711115, 44 Upton Street. This is to construct rear decks on the first and second floor. The violations, Article 64, Section 9. 4, townhouse, row house extensions into rear yard above the first story. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mark Lacasse, Lacasse Law, 75 Arlington Street, Boston. Represent the developer of this project. The project is a 2-unit complete gut renovation of what was an existing single-family / lodging house that has been turned into 2 units. The proposal before you today simply seeks approval of 2 rear decks above the first floor, thereby requiring conditional use permit under Article 64-9. We held an abutter meeting, and there was no opposition. There were some questions about the structural component parts of the decks. They are 6 feet in dimension and supported by cantilever brackets.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Sam Chambers, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. At this time, we have not received any opposition from the abutters, and everyone is in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Lauren Miller, City Councilor Bill Linehan's office. We too wish to go on record in support. Thanks.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval, BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you.
We have a 3-minute break until 5-minute break until we are ready for 10:30s. But anybody who's going to be here speaking or requesting a deferral or a withdrawal should get ready to line up at the podium. Okay? So we'll reconvene at 10:30. are ready to proceed with the meeting for July 25th, 2017. Again, just a reminder, make sure your cell phones are off and take any conversations outside of the room. If you're here to speak in support or in opposition of the project, please give us new information. We'd like to know more details about a project, and we take everybody's news and information under consideration when we make a decision. Mr. Fortune?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are there any deferrals or withdrawals for 1030? Counselor, address? Address, please.
502 East 3rd Street.
For the record, calling BOA 722-592-502 East 3rd Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Mahoney of Adams and Moranci with the business address of 350 West Broadway. We are respectfully seeking a deferral. There's been an issue with a site survey that has just arisen this morning.
Motion to approve deferral.
Sis, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
September 19th.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for the 1030 cases? Hearing none, we'll go to the first case. Calling BOA 721162, 40 Enterprise Street. This is the Pipe Fitters Union demo an existing building and erect a 73,000 square foot pipe fitters training office and a 4-story, 65-foot tall steel frame structure. The project also includes approximately 120 parking spaces. The violations: Article 25, Section 5, Flood Hazard District; Article 65, Section 15, Trade School is conditional; Article 65, Section 16, the height is excessive; Article 65, Section 16, front yard, other street, Clapp Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Don Weiss, the Dane Torby firm, 745 Atlantic Avenue. With me are Al Spagnola, principal of SGA Architects, and Matt Formicola, who's the project manager.
Please tell us what's being proposed.
This is a new state-of-the-art and quite beautiful training facility for the Pipe Fitters Union. They have elected to replace their existing facility in Dorchester. They're remaining in the city and making a long-term commitment with a 70,000 square foot, 4-story new facility that will include offices and extensive training facilities, some of which will have some visibility from the street.
So let's look at the violations. Can you tell us about the flood hazard district?
So we've been cited by ISD for this, and we've gone ahead and asked for the variance proactively. We're not aware that we're actually in a 100-year flood zone here. Our indication didn't indicate that, but we've asked for that preemptively. We are not close to the ocean, and this entire area, which is seeing a lot of development, is all within the same conditions. But we've asked for that to be proactive because we were cited for that by ISD.
Okay, how are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate.
Okay, and the violations include height, excessive height. What's required and what are you proposing?
We're proposing 65 feet in a 45-foot zone, and to accommodate parking on site and the facilities needed for the building, although we comply with FAR and are largely dimensionally compliant, going a little bit taller was the way to fit the needed program into the building space. I should mention we've had a very successful community process. It's gone very smoothly. We've had a lot of support from the neighborhood.
And this is an L1, right? L1 district?
Let me check.
LI.
I believe it's LI.
LI.
Thank you.
Yep, okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go on record in support. This project has been through a lengthy community process that has been very positive. People are happy to see the pipe fitters staying and investing in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Amanda Curley, Councilor Baker's office. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dave Vittorini on behalf of City Council President Michelle Wu. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of the Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Council to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support of this project. Thanks.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling 720, BOA 720-590, 287 to 291 Old Colony Avenue. This is to propose to build a new 7-unit condo building consisting of 7 residential units and 1 retail commercial space and parking under. The violations, Article 13, Section 4. Dwelling is in a non-residential district. Article 14, Section 14-1. Minimum lot size requirements is insufficient. Article 14, Section 14-2. Lot area for additional dwelling units. Article 15, Section 1. The floor to area ratio is excessive. Article 23, Section 1. Off-street parking requirements is insufficient. Article 16, Section 1. Maximum height requirement is excessive. Article 16, Section 1. The maximum number of stories is excessive. Article 17, Section 1. Usable open space is insufficient. Article 18, Section 1. Front yard setback requirement is insufficient. Article 18, Section 1. Front yard setback requirement along Jenkins Street is insufficient. And Article 18, Section 3. Traffic visibility across the corner. Name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Mahoney of Adams and Moranci with the business address of 350 West Broadway. On the outset, before I begin, I'd just like to say I have a full set of drawings that will be submitted to the board by the end of the day. I submitted a handout which reflects that set of drawings that you should all have. Additionally, there's a zoning analysis on the second page. I ask that you only look at the allowed, as I'll explain some discrepancies within the proposed relief that we're seeking. The building has been reduced significantly. It's now a 4-story building with 5 residential units and 1 commercial unit.
Sorry, 4 stories, how many units?
5 residential units and 1 commercial unit,
Okay.
consisting of 3 2-bedroom apartments, approximately 1,300 square feet, and a 1 2-bedroom of 1,900 square feet, and 2 1-bedrooms, each of 800 square feet. It's totaling 5, so only 2 of the 2 beds are 1,300 square feet.
And do any of your violations go away with this decrease in size? Are any of them eliminated?
The front yard violation has been remedied by the existing building alignment, but in essence, the rest of them still remain. And the reason for that is it's a 2,700 square foot triangle-shaped lot. There is still a rear yard violation. With the shallow lot exception, 10 feet is allowed, and we're right up against the lot line.
So tell us about the parking. Are you still proposing, how many parking spaces are you proposing?
5 spaces, so parking does comply.
Does comply. Okay, and...
The area is zoned L1.
Okay.
And so what that means, we're proposing a residential building, the nearest SH or R district dimensions would apply.
Okay, then tell us about the traffic visibility.
The traffic visibility around the corner is no plantings or building within the first 2.5 feet. It's going to be a transparent retail space, a glass building on either side. And also Jenkins Street, Old Colony is a main thoroughfare. Jenkins Street is a one-way exiting out onto Old Colony. There's a stop sign in place, and it isn't a high-traffic area.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board?
I'm just looking at the floor plan here on level 1. How do the cars get in and out?
They would pull in off of Jenkins Street. That's Jenkins Street. Mr. Ehrlich to the left, which is a one-way street exiting out onto Old Colony.
Yeah.
So they would just simply pull in and then back out accordingly. There isn't a space to turn around. So there's no parking on that side of the street. So there'd be a curb cut extended.
So it's the garage doors are open. There isn't an elevation. I can't quite figure it out. The garage doors are open all the way.
Yeah, there's several garage doors in essence.
And the curb cut is that entire, what is the dimension? Whatever the dimension is from the corner to the for all 5 cars.
Yeah, it's approximately just under 40 feet.
Any other questions from the board?
It is within the Dorchester Ave Planning Initiative, but is not zoning at this time.
Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. The proponent has made changes since this was initially proposed to get the support of the Andrews Square Civic Association and the neighbors. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Lauren Miller, City Councilor Bill Linehan's office. We too wish to go on record in support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan. We have City Council at Large Michael Flaherty. Council to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval with BPDA design review.
Second. Before we vote, can I just ask a question on the notes from the BPDA? Recommends denial without prejudice. Is that?
Yes, the Dot Ave South Boston plan is done, and we're trying to, put the word out that the proposals that were already in the queue don't conform to what the plan was adopted by the BRA board, and that the zoning that we're currently writing right now. So for us to be consistent with our plan, we're recommending denial without prejudice.
Because we're in that interim period between.
Yeah, I'm
before the
currently
change
writing the
occurs.
zoning right now, so it's just for a consistency.
Okay, so was there a motion?
Yes, for approval with BPDA.
And there was a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that proviso. Good luck.
Calling BOA 719-849-278 West 5th Street. There's a companion case, BOA 725-135, 539 to 541. I'm sorry, this is separate. BOA 719-849-278 West 5th Street. This is to change a single-family house to a two-family, make an addition to the side of the house, as well as the third floor. The violations, Article 68, Section 29, roof structure restricted district. Article 68, Section 8, front yard setback requirement is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Mahoney of Adams and Moranci with a business address of 350 West Broadway. In the audience is the developer, Klaus Kimmel.
Tell us what's being proposed.
Madam Chair, there's an existing single-family home. This is an alteration permit to alter the existing home to conform to the dimensional requirements of Article 68. The front yard violation is removed or doesn't exist in the first place because the existing building alignment is consistent with that of the prominent front yard of the street.
So tell us, where is this addition? Is that a rear addition or is it a side yard?
It's actually the roof. So if you're looking at the
I see.
cover
Okay.
page of the handout, you'll see the building is set back 3 feet on the third level from the other building, and that's to conform with the dimensional requirements of Article 68. However, the one thing that we can't change for zoning relief is the change of profile of the roof. So if you have, for example, a single-story building in Article 68, Section 29, the restricted roof structure provision, says that it would be conditional relief to alter the profile in any capacity.
Okay, so then tell us about that roof structure. Is it accessible to the entire building?
No, the roof structure, Madam Chair, that's being altered isn't the deck. It's the top floor. Any change.
But you're adding a deck too?
There is, yes.
And that is accessible to which unit?
Unit 2, exclusively.
And accessed by?
Access by hatch, not by head house.
And then, does this conversion include the addition of the garage doors?
It does. There's parking to accommodate the added unit. For support, we have 31 letters of support from the neighboring area that we'd like to submit.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The reduced plans are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal? Is anybody here to speak in support? Is anybody here in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We're not able to go on record in support of this proposal because it does need variances under Article 68. However, it does appear the building is dimensionally compliant, and the proponent does have many letters of support from the community. And the butters meeting did go well. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Lauren Miller, City Councilor Bill Linehan's office. We too cannot go on record in support. We do have to oppose it because it does violate Article 68. However, as the mayor's office just stated, it does have support from the abutters. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Councilor at Large Michael Flaherty. Due to all the effort that went into Article 68 to revise and implement it by both elected officials and the community, at this particular point, the council cannot support this under Article 68.
Thank you. Given that information, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the design review.
And if there could be particular attention to those garage doors and some way to minimize that, or is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 725-135, 539 to 541 East 3rd Street. There is a companion case, BOA 674-105, 543 East 3rd Street. This is for 543 East 3rd. This erect a new 3-story, 2-family dwelling over an open parking with roof deck. The violation is Article 57, Section 9. The lot area for the other dwelling units is insufficient. Article 57, Section 9, the floor area ratio is excessive. Article 57, Section 9, the height is excessive. Article 57, Section 9, the required front yard setback is insufficient. Article 57, Section 9, the required side yard is insufficient. Article 57, Section 9, the required rear yard setback is insufficient. Article 57, Section 9, the required usable open space is insufficient. Article 59, Section 37, off-street parking design. Article 57, Section 22, the roof structure restricted district. Article 57, Section 27, 2 buildings on the same lot. Article 57, Section 27, 2 dwellings on 1 lot. This is for 539 to 541 East 3rd. This is an existing 2-family dwelling and will share its lot with another new dwelling. The violations, Article 68, Section 34, 2 dwellings on 1 lot. Article 68, Section 34, 2 buildings on the same lot. Article 68, Section 8, floor area ratio is excessive. Article 68, Section 8, the usable open space is insufficient. And Article 68, Section 8, side yard setback is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I'm joined by Tim Johnson, the project architect. Madam Chair, members, to refresh the recollection of the board, this is essentially a rediscussion. This matter was substantially heard on the merits a few weeks ago. It was re-advertised, which is why it is not in the rediscussions list today. A few weeks ago, Tim was here with his client, or on behalf of his client, Frank Mulligan, for the purpose of getting approval for a 2-family dwelling which would be located to the left of an existing mixed-use building consisting of 2 apartments above Frank Mulligan's construction company office on the 1st floor. To further refresh the board's recollection, there were some concerns from the board about why, in fact, this building and the proposed new building were not put onto a consolidated lot. There were also concerns about exposed parking at the ground level of the new building. I was at the hearing a few weeks ago, actually as a representative of my clients, who are the approved developers of an 18-unit project at 545 East 3rd Street. I was here only to offer support for the project. Obviously now I've been retained by Mr. Mulligan to represent him at this hearing. Since that initial hearing, we did in fact confirm what I believe I stated at the time of the hearing, that this isn't a consolidated lot. So there was concern about the advertising when this hearing first came before the board, whether or not this was a consolidated lot or 2 separate lots. I had represented Mr. Mulligan in 2011 when the existing building was approved, and that application was to, in fact, combine lots, erect the mixed-use building with 2 parking spaces on the vacant portion of the lot to the left. This application is hoping to achieve the purpose of getting approval for a 3-story, 2-unit building on that vacant portion of the lot. There would be 4 parking slots, 8 tandem spaces. So even if these spaces were not tandem, the 2 parking spaces that do exist there for the 2 residential units to the right remain in existence, and 2 additional parking spaces are being added for the 2 units in the new building to the left. When Tim went in and clarified this with the plans examiner, the result is that a second application was required to be submitted for the existing building. Hence, there is a refusal letter arising under Article 68. It's important to know we're really seeking no effective relief under Article 68. Nothing is changing with respect to the existing building. The violations owe to the fact that the lot had in fact been consolidated and ISD cited it incorrectly the first time. Otherwise, this entire application would still be under Article 57. In terms of the merits of the project, again, it's simply a two-unit building with ground floor parking. The revised plans that are submitted address the other issue that I think was significant for the board, to which objection was raised, which was there was exposed parking at the ground floor level. That parking is now concealed by garage doors. As to the violations, there are violations accruing to the lot owing to the fact that there are now essentially two structures on the lot. That has a consequence for usable open space, but the portion of the lot being used for the new building was never used for usable open space. It was a surface parking lot for two vehicles and sometimes overflow. In terms,
what's the zoning in this district? Is it a 3F 2000?
this is it was 3F 2000 under Article 57, St. Vincent's. It's now MFR, multifamily residential.
So it's an MFR, so the use is allowed.
Yes.
And how many units total in both the existing and the proposed building?
4 residential and 1 commercial.
In the entire 543
Yes.
to 549, 541?
Yes, the existing building is ground floor office and 2 rental units above. The new building is ground floor garage and 2 rental units above.
And what's the sizes of those units? Because they look like they're pretty generous.
Madam Chair, these are 2-bedroom, 2-bath units, approximately 1,000 square feet.
Okay. And the parking, and so your violations are the side yard setback, and what is required?
The side yard setback, again, different under Article 57, under, Tim has I just want to point out, with respect to the side yard, to the left of the proposed building where the side yard violation accrues is a driveway entrance for the proposed building at 545 East 3rd Street. So there is no proximity there to an abutting building or windows or anything of the sort. With respect to the rear yard violation, this building goes to the rear lot line as the existing building does. To the rear of the site is the 545 East 3rd Street approved project. My clients, therefore, are the abutters. They have no opposition. In fact, their building, 545, board may remember, was set back on all sides in consideration of future development of this parcel, in fact. In terms of, there's a height violation that's cited under Article 57. That's when this was a 35-foot maximum height district. This building is just over 37 feet. The maximum height now in the district is 40 feet. The resulting FAR with this additional 2-unit building is 2.2.
And tell us about the roof structure.
There, even under Article 57, this was a restricted roof structure district. There is one proposed deck for the new building, centrally located, modestly sized, the same size as the 2 decks on the building at right. The plans do show a head house. Again, I was not involved with this project from the inception, but it does show a head house access to that roof.
So this is a head house access to 543?
Yes.
Correct.
If that deck is restricted only to unit number 2, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, you're actually showing two access points to the deck for the 2. Each unit has a roof deck, right? One shows the head house and one shows the hatch.
I believe you're looking on the right, Mr. Ehrlich, that's the existing building.
Existing.
Yeah, on the left, it says Unit 2 roof deck, and it's simply that one deck.
Okay. So why is it a head house and not a hatch?
Actually, because as I said, I wasn't involved when the plans were first drawn up. My assumption was that the head house would be stricken at this hearing.
So they didn't have your expert advice, did they? Okay, any other, and how are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
The drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, so the four parking spaces for 543 will also serve as 539-41?
Yes, essentially, again, it's a single lot, there's no ancillary parking. There could be 4 unencumbered spaces or 8 tandem spaces. In total, the 8 spaces are for the use of the commercial and the rental units.
Could I raise a question about
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm not.
That would be tough, right? The tandem spaces.
It could be, I mean, again, it could be simply 4 spaces for the 4 residential units and office.
The applications for 4 spaces, right?
For 4 tandem spaces, correct.
The issue that I raise is, unless I'm mistaken, the spaces are on 15 or 16 feet in depth. What am I missing?
Yeah. Yeah.
The 4 going across the top.
That's correct, Ms. Bazzani. The first row, or the back row, is approximately 15 to 16 feet deep, and the rear, or the street side, is 19 to 20 feet deep.
It just seems that, you know, the minimum for compact is 17 feet deep.
I would suggest that 2 units are being added. The requirement is to add 2 parking spaces for a total of 4. Even if the garage were construed to hold a maximum of 4 vehicles, there is no off-street parking insufficiency violation.
No, I'm convinced that it can work for 4. I don't see how it works for 6.
Exactly, and again, to hypothesize about this, if it were approved as only a 4-unit garage, the ultimate practice would be that people would fit as many cars as they could in the garage. This is, I think, shown as being the maximum number that could be fit in under ideal circumstances. But the fact is, I believe we satisfy the off-street parking requirement by the fact that it's incontestably 4 parking spaces.
Any other questions? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support of the new building being built. We did hold an abutters meeting for that building, and there were no objections raised. It is consistent with the building next to it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Lauren Miller, City Councilor Bill Linehan's office. We too wish to go on record in support of the new building, and as Mr. Moranci stated, 539 fell under Article 68, kind of on a technicality. The councilor feels that it's consistent with the other houses on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Due to the efforts put forth by the city, the community, and elected officials into drafting and implementing Article 68, at this particular point, the council is unable to support the project.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to grant the relief requested with the following provisos: that the parking be restricted to 4 automobiles, that the head house be eliminated and a hatch installed, since it's only for the 1 unit.
Second.
And design review?
And design review by BPDA with special attention to the garage doors. And it's 28 feet of garage doors.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with those provisos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 707-989, 377 West First Street. Is West First Street here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is erect a 5-story mixed-use building. On the ground level, it will be parking garage with a commercial space. On the upper floors will be 9 residential units. There will be a common roof deck for all tenants in the building. Violations, Article 68, Section 8, floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney with the business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. I'm joined shortly by my client, the purchaser and developer of the property, Greg Donovan. Madam Chair, members, this matter has been before the board. This has been denied previously. It's a case that arises under Article 68 and has been denied in the past by this board, based largely, I think, on objections to grants of zoning relief in Article 68. The board is likely aware that South Boston zoning, which is now all Article 68, but for the study area, is being re-examined under a recently imposed interim planning overlay district, which I think is the result of a consensus, certainly that Article 68 is not perfect, which is something that we've been saying for some time. This site is currently a lot that is a part of the Donald Clancy and Sons demolition company, and Mr. Clancy just joined us at the hearing table. Mr. Clancy has had this business there for many, many years. It's in an area that was once zoned commercially. It was a manufacturing zone. When Article 68 was first implemented along the east and west 1st and 2nd Street corridors, Mr. Clancy's land was rezoned from manufacturing, from commercial to residential.
Sorry, so this is a 9-unit building.
Correct.
Can you give us the sizes of the units, what the breakdown is?
Certainly.
Tell us about the roof deck, and the only violation is FAR, so can you speak to that also?
Certainly. In terms of the units, it's a 9-unit building with a commercial unit. There is small ground floor commercial space. The ground floor is a 442 square foot commercial unit, entry vestibule, and a lobby. There are also 13 garage parking spaces. Second floor, there are two bedroom units of just over 1,800 square feet, a 3-bedroom unit of just about 2,300 square feet. The third floor, same, two bedroom units, just over 1,800 square feet, a 3-bedroom unit of just under 2,300 square feet. The third floor, there are 2 3-bedroom units. One is a bi-level unit, 3-bedroom, 3,854 square feet. There's also a single floor, 3-bedroom unit of 3,450 square feet. And finally, on the 4th floor, there is one 3-bedroom unit, also of 3,450 square feet, plus the upper level of a 3-bedroom unit below, for a total of 9 units. Open space is provided on the roof. There is an exclusive use roof deck of 500 feet for the bi-level 3-bedroom. There is an exclusive use deck for the top floor 3-bedroom unit of 965 square feet, and then there's a common roof deck for the other 7 units of 1,300 square feet. All in all, this comes in at an FAR of 3.0. The maximum FAR here under Article 68 is 2.0. The additional FAR is related to my description of the site as the current use of the site as Clancy Brothers Demolition Company. Mr. Clancy, faced with residential encroachment around him, residential development around him, and on a piece of land that was rezoned while his business was operating there, needs to relocate. My client is paying Mr. Clancy enough money so that he can relocate his business and so that my client can undertake to clean the soil required for the excavation to keep the building under the maximum building height. All of this results in the fact that the maximum amount of gross floor area needs to be put into the building to make it an economically viable project.
Mr. Morency, I'm still hung up on those roof decks. What's the access to those roof decks?
Is an elevator access to those roof decks?
Elevator?
Yes.
Okay, so
ADA
that's a
accessible.
penthouse up there, or what
No,
is it?
It's
Okay.
just access through stairwells for emergency and also elevator for ADA.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Bassani?
Drawings are adequate.
So the FAR is, because that's the only violation, was 2.0, and now it's proposed as 3.0.
3.0, the building is otherwise dimensionally compliant.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, George. Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support of this proposal. It is somewhat unique within Article 68 in that it is on contaminated land. It is dimensionally compliant with Article 68 except for the FAR, and the proponent is giving part of the site sort of back to the city to create a compliant sidewalk in this area, which is desperately needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? I'm sorry, is anybody else here to speak in support? Oh, please come forward. All of you come forward so we can be efficient here and give us new information, please.
Okay, my name is Mary Hogan. I live a few doors from the project. I have 182 letters and affidavits that want to support this project.
Yes, please put it in the record.
We feel that Mr. Donovan, the last meeting we had, addressed the problem that we were all concerned about, and that was the height. We're not concerned about what goes on in the building, so we'd appreciate it if it got approved.
Okay, thank you. Give us new information, otherwise just put your name and address on the record, okay?
Hi, my name is Kathleen Reagan. I actually bought a 3-bedroom unit on First Street in a previous building, and I just wanted to voice my support. I'm moving from a suburb with my 14-year-old and my other son who attends college, and I was surprised mostly walking down, being new to the area on First, the condition of the sidewalk, and I believe the sidewalk is going to be similar to the buildings previous, and there's a vast difference. So it is a safety issue for me. That's why I support it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashish Mehta. We moved to South Boston from being in South End 2 years back on First Street. We expanded our family in South Boston. We'd love to stay there. We'd love to actually have that area developed, especially on the First Street, some street lighting, and we see the development with the street, and the sidewalks. I think that will be great help to the community and the society around there with this type of development.
Thank you.
My name's Frank Hogan. I live at 412 West 2nd Street, South Boston. This project's right behind my house, and I'm in favor of it.
Hi, my name is Billy Cassetta. I'm the owner and operator of Murphy's Jewelry at 403 West 1st Street, Greg's building. I'm here to speak up for Greg because about a year and a half ago, I was suddenly and unexpectedly evicted from where I had been for 48 years prior to that. And when no one else could help out or would help out, Greg came through, and I didn't know Greg before this day, and offered me a place in his building at 0 rent for 2 years to help me get reestablished and settled in the new neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
I do have, Madam Chair, I'm not sure if the Secretary has it, but I do have a letter in support from State Representative Nick Collins.
We have it.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Lauren Miller, City Councilor Bill Linehan's office. We cannot go on record in support because it does violate Article 68. However, I did attend the abutters meeting. It was well attended and well received, but we can't support it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council at Large Michael Flaherty, commending the many positives of the proposal, including safe sidewalks and an affordable commercial space. Unfortunately, at this particular point, the council is unable to support the proposal under Article 68.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about there's three separate roof decks, right?
Correct.
And how is each one of them accessed and by whom? By which user?
So one is common and one is exclusive.
There is a so there, I refer you to sheet A103, Mr. Ehrlich. So there are 2 staircases providing access to the roof, and there's an elevator head house.
Direct access from units.
Yeah, and those staircases are direct access from units below, and then there's elevator access that provides access to all.
Okay, the elevator in terms of the need for a head house is obvious in terms of the mechanics of it, but the stairwell, I'm curious why there needs to be head houses for the stairwell.
I can just speak on that. So the common area has to have the access for second means in an elevator for ADA. The single one was for common access I mean, for individual access from the unit, and that was a walk-up. So it was just, instead of, you know, people trying to get out of a hatch, it was just, it's minimal, and there's no FAR in terms of extra square footage in it. It's just enough to get a stairwell and a landing and a door out. And that comes directly out of the individual unit, exclusive to that unit.
I may stand to be corrected, but I also believe that because of a common assembly area on the roof,
Maybe egress off.
correct.
By rated stairs, yes.
Okay, may I have a motion,
Make a
please?
motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that proviso. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Calling
you.
BOA 716-126, 441 Stewart Street. This is the change occupancy to include a liquor store. Violations, Article 48, Section 7. The proposed use is a conditional use as it is on the ground level and is accessed from the public sidewalk. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Kristen Scanlon, 30 Rose Wharf, Suite 600. With me this morning and seated to my right is Dawa Lama, who is the applicant, tenant, proposed, or owner of the proposed store. If I may, as you know, the proposal here before you this morning is for a change of use from a general retail store, which was once a dry cleaners, to a high-end grocery and package store. It's conditional because of the street entrance, which is located off of Dartmouth Street. The store will actually have two entrances, one within the interior of the building and one on the exterior. By way of background regarding the location itself, it's owned by Stewart Street Holdings, which is a subsidiary entity of Synergy Investments. The applicant has leased the space from the landlord on the ground floor of the existing 11-story building. The proposed store itself is pretty small in scale. It's only about 1,000 square feet and has been vacant for the better part of 5 years. It's a bit small and challenging based on 2 of the 4 walls being windows. And
The applicant have an experience running a liquor store
Yeah.
and operating a liquor store?
Yes, ma'am. He's been in the retail industry for 15-plus years. He's got 2 existing locations, one in Fort Point and one in Seaport, both at the time that he went into both stores as part of the revitalization of both neighborhoods. He's been an exemplary business there with no violations to speak of, and he's seeking to do essentially the same thing in this location. As the
Proposed name for this store?
Back Bay Wine and Spirits.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Giselle Guerrero with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. They had a process with both the Civic Association and they were in support. We're excited to have them in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Lauren Miller, City Councilor Bill Linehan's office, we too wish to go on record in support. Thanks.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Councilor Michael Flaherty, Council to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve with, they don't need BPDA, right? So I'm just going to make a motion to grant the relief.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 721-110, 10 Durham Street. This is to construct a new 4-story addition with the front and rear decks for Unit 4, an interior renovation to the 3rd story. Violations, Article 16, Section 8, roof structure restrictions, Article 32, Section 4, G-card applicability. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, members of the board. Stephen Greenbaum, 200 High Street, Brockton. With me is our architect and also the proponent. We're seeking the board's approval today for the construction, which is set out. I would also add as a caveat that ISD determined that this was subject to GCOD approval, and I wanted the board to understand that the plans have been filed. They have not been fully signed off yet by Boston Water and Sewer Commission. I would ask the board to approve this application today, subject to receipt of that approval. I have with us as well Christian Simonelli from the Boston Groundwater Trust, who is prepared to represent to the board that, in his opinion, the plans are sufficient.
So let's get that on the record, Christian.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Christian Seminelli, Groundwater Trust. The applicant reached out to me prior to the hearing, submitted the plans to Water and Sewer, and they are there for review at this time, so I would again request a hold for signature.
Thank you. So can you speak to, the last thing that's left is the restricted roof structure, the violation. Can you speak to that, please?
My clients have gone to all of the requisite associations. They've been to the neighborhood association, they've been to landmarks, they've had abutters meetings. You should have in your package over 20 letters of support for this proposal, which we believe will actually enhance the neighborhood. We, as far as I know, have had unanimous approval from every organization which has overseen these. There have been some design reviews based on comments that
Counselor,
received.
is this a roof deck?
Yes.
And give us the dimensions and how it's accessed.
Hi, my name is Michael Szymański. I am with Meyer Architects. I work on the project. The dimension of the rear roof deck is 9 feet by 19 feet, and the dimensions of the front roof deck is 9 feet by 19 feet.
Okay, and how are they?
I'm sorry, the rear deck is 8 feet by 19 feet.
8 by 19, and
That's
how are they accessed?
They are accessed from the penthouse addition
There's a
by means of
okay.
doors.
Okay, thank you. How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
The drawings are adequate, clearly defined.
So the penthouse is that 4th floor addition?
Yes, the penthouse is an addition.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Giselle Grower with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support. We did hold an abutters meeting where we had several of the neighbors come out. Some of the greatest concerns were the decrease in value of the property because it's going to block the site of the Hancock Tower. Others are concerned with the aesthetics of the neighborhood, but other than that, we have received letters of support on various ends. And the Civic Association is also in support, so we're in support.
Hello, good morning. My name is Rebecca Forkner. I live at 16 Durham Street, which is 3 doors down from 10 Durham Street, and so has full visibility of 10 Durham Street. So I'm partially here as a resident of Durham Street to state that I'm in full support of the proposed addition. I am also here as treasurer of the St. Botolph Neighborhood Association, which is in full support of this project, based partially on the approvals by Boston Landmarks and the neighborhood's architectural review committee, and also because the owners of 10 Durham worked very hard to be up to date with everybody in the neighborhood on the project and worked very hard to get input from residents in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Justin Brown from Councilor Jackson's office, and he would like to give his support.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the board. My name is John Biskey. I live at 5 Durham Street, unit number 5, across the street from the project, and I want to go on record as in full support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve. Jeff, we're going to need continued BPDA?
Was it landmarks on this?
Yes.
I think it's within, landmarks, so we'll defer to landmarks.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Calling BOA 722-001, 252 Friend Street. This is a restaurant with takeout and remove proviso. The previous establishment to create a takeout for the new establishment. No work to be done. Violations Article 6, Section 4, just to remove proviso. Name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Cardillo, 249 Maverick Street, East Boston, Mass. Good morning.
Please tell us what you're proposing.
To have the proposed proviso granted to the new owner, myself.
And what's the name of your restaurant?
The West Ender.
Is that a new restaurant?
Excuse me?
Is it new?
It's not new, no. It's been there years.
So you're just adding the takeout?
At the table, yes.
Okay. And you have experience with takeout?
Yes.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pizzani?
drawings are adequate. I mean, basically, you're doing no work.
No,
Okay?
I'm just,
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Maria Lanza, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to go on record and support. The applicant has completed a community process and is working with their abutters. We're happy to see the establishment reopen in the West End. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, before we have a vote, there is a similar case that has a different BOA number with a different applicant, Matthew Matarazaro.
yes. He was thinking of taking it over, but he since gave it up, and I'm the, you know.
So let's just stick to this BOA number, okay? And then just make a motion on that, and then we'll withdraw the second.
Very good, Madam Chair.
So is there a motion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Hold on for 1 minute. Go ahead.
So for the record, calling BOA 665-387-252 Friend Street. This was to remove proviso granted to petitioner only.
And this applicant, again, was Mr. Matarazzo. So
I've taken the lease over from him.
okay, so may I have a motion, please?
Motion for denial without prejudice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's all set. Good luck.
Calling the next case, calling the next case, calling BOA 722-6618, 401 Main Street. This is to change the legal occupancy from a two-family dwelling to a three-family dwelling. The violation is Article 10, Section 1, limitation of area of accessory uses, Article 62, Section 8, location of the main entrance, Article 62, Section 7. The use is forbidden, basement units are forbidden, Article 62, Section 8, 1,000 square foot unit requirement on additional lot is insufficient. Article 62, Section 8, the floor area ratio excessive is 2.0 is max. Article 62, Section 8, usable open space is insufficient. Article 62, Section 8, number of stories allowed, habitable stories is exceeded. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Derek Small. I have a business address of 15 Broad Street in Boston, 02109. With me today is Mr. Peter Mugford, who's the owner of the property. Today we are here seeking relief to change the legal occupancy from a two-family dwelling to a three-family dwelling, creating an 850 square foot basement unit. So the sub-district is Row House 2000, and the violations are the accessory use, the parking. We have 3 parking spaces in the rear of the property, and it takes up more than 25% of the rear yard. The main entrance for the unit is on the side of the building, whereas the first 2 units, the main entrance is in the front of the building, so that's why we're cited for that. So forbidden use in this district. The additional lot area of 1,000 square feet, we have 825 proposed. The FAR, I have met with Plans Examiner Frank D'Amato, and he said that he issued that violation in error, as we are just below, we are 88 square feet under the required FAR, so it's 2.0 max, we're coming in at 1.9. The number of habitable stories, the lot line or the line for the basement unit, we're 40% above grade, and that's why we're cited for that.
So, Mr. Small, a couple of questions. So access is through the side yard.
That's the street side, it's a corner lot.
I see.
So it's on that side of Auburn Street where the.
Okay. And what's the floor to ceiling height in the basement?
9 feet.
9 feet.
It's 9 feet?
Yep, it's been
Okay.
dug out.
And where's the parking, where, is there
There are
parking in the rear yard?
There are three spaces in the rear yard.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate.
Are the utilities separated from the rest of the unit?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Christopher Breen from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services would like to go on record in support. We had a community meeting back in late May in which the majority of those in attendance spoke in support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Juliana City Council, Sal Latino's office. I attended the abutters meeting on May 25th. all who showed up did support it. Therefore, the council wants to go on record in support as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dave Vittarini on behalf of City Council President Michelle Wu. We'd also like to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, on behalf of City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, council to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
This is all
There's
interior.
all interior work. There's no exterior work being done.
Okay, so there's a second for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good
Thank you,
luck.
Madam Chair, members of the board. We'll hand these letters of support from the butters in for the record as well.
Calling BOA 696-619, 303 Paris Street. Is Paris Street here?
Second call.
Is Paris Street here?
Let's hold it for a minute.
Oh, okay, no, they're here. This is a change actually to include a wireless telecommunications facility and install 9 new wireless antennas and 6 RRU concealed behind a screen wall enclosure on an existing roof of the church rectory and painted to match the building. Install equipment cabinets, gas generator, and associated cables. The violation is Article 86, Section 6. Any antenna in a residential district is a conditional use. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Andrew Pearsall, 68 Dollar Davis Road, Centerville, Mass.
This is recording, so both of you need to speak up some, okay? Thank you.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Ryan Monte de Ramos. I'm a radio frequency engineer representing T-Mobile.
Thank you. Are you waiting for a third?
Yeah, our attorney is not present at the moment.
And who's the attorney?
Daniel Glissman.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what's being proposed?
We're proposing 9 antennas at the Sacred Heart Rectory
Okay.
at 303
And for
Harris.
which carrier is this?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. And are there any other antenna in that building?
There are
No?
not.
How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are adequate. What I'd like to do is, are the antennas concealed or are they direct mount?
Yes, they're concealed
You have
within a.
faux chimneys or faux?
Correct. It's in a
Do you have any simulations, any 3D views as to what it looks like now and what it will look like after you're done?
photo simulations we do have, which are with the attorney.
Do you have any other buildings that have that similar, that maybe we could take a look at?
Yes.
We can Google, I'm just saying we can Google map it, so.
Trying to think
Well,
offhand.
let's just find out who's in support, who's in opposition, and then we'll come back. We'll put it on hold until your attorney has arrived. Is anybody here to speak in support of this?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, on behalf of Claudia Correa, we would like to go on record in support. After numerous abutters meetings, the residents did receive health and impact reports, and they are now in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? Okay, we're just going to put a hold on this until your attorney is here and we can see the photo sims, okay? Let's go to the next case.
Thank you very much.
Calling BOA 699-095, 274 to 276 Sumner Street. This is a renovate building including adding living area, an addition of 24.8 feet by 28.4 feet, 3 stories in height in the rear and ground level, and 7 parking spaces in the rear. Violations Article 9, Section 1, 6 units in the 3F subdistrict. Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking, design and maneuverability. Article 53, Section 9, reduction of an insufficient open space per unit. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR. Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering, none is proposed. Article 53, Section 52, alteration of an existing roof profile. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Drago with Drago and Toscano with an address of 15 Broad Street.
I have Tanya Carrier here from Culsa Design and my client Boris Kurtnick. Mr. Kurtnick purchased this the building at 274276 as an existing 6-unit building. It was in disrepair when he purchased it, and our plan is to completely gut renovate, bring up to code, and add an addition, 28 foot by 16.8 deep addition in the rear of the property. This the setback goes back 100 feet, this lot. Also to add some living space in the basement, just to give the units a little bit of bigger size. They will be condominium units when he's completed. Currently, the units are 2-bed, 1-bath that range from 635 to 715 square feet.
All right, Counselor, can you tell
Sure.
us what is proposed?
Sure.
What the proposed bedroom sizes are?
Sure.
And the number of them?
Yep, so for the units 1 and 2, they would be 3-bed, 3-bath proposed. Those would be the first floor with some additional space in the basement for bedroom and bath, and those would be 1,937. The second floor units, 988 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath, and then the top floor units, 988 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath units as well. We had an extensive community process getting the support of the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Council because they also wanted to see this area revitalized. We are also adding, currently there's 1 parking spot in the rear. We're going to have 7 parking spots, so 1 additional spot, more than a 1-for-1 on the back of his building, which is traversed through Sumner Place and Emmett Place. There's an existing easement back there now.
And tell us about the basement. What's the use in the basement?
So the use would be additional space to have bedroom and master bedroom and bath down in the bottom.
So 4 units?
In a study.
Okay. And what's the floor to ceiling height there?
Give us 1 moment.
It is 7'6" ceiling height.
And where are the utilities? Are they on a different floor?
They're within each unit.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
The drawings are adequate.
Are there any questions from the board?
The basement is currently and will continue to be accessed from the units and from like a hatch in the street?
Correct.
Correct.
Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, on behalf of Claudia Correa, we'd like to go on record in support. There was no opposition at the abutters meeting, and the Neighborhood Association did vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Staff would like to go on record in support of this proposal.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez, representing the carpenter seating, would like to go on record in support of this project.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
And a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next case, BOA 570065, 10 Everett Street, is rescheduled for 8:15.
So this is so it's a deferral?
No, Madam Chair, it's not a deferral. This was
So it's really on the agenda for 8:15? Okay. So it's going to be on the agenda for?
8:15.
8:15 at what time?
This is my case as well, so.
9:30, ma'am.
9:30, okay?
Calling the next case, calling BOA 721-541, 114 Orleans Street. This is to raise an existing building and erect 5-story residential building with 23 units and 25 indoor parking spaces with 12 stackers. The violation is Article 53, Section 56, insufficient parking, 2-unit requirement. Article 53, Section 56.5, parking maneuverability and stackers. Article 53, Section 8, MFR is forbidden in a 3F sub-district. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient additional lot area per unit, 23,000 square feet required. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR, 1.0, and is the max. Article 53, Section 9, number of allowed stories has been exceeded, 3 stories max. Article 53, Section 9, the height is exceeded, 35 feet is max. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient usable open space, 300 square feet, a unit is required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient side yard setback, 2.5 feet, minimum required. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback, 30 feet is required. Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering, none is proposed. And Article 53, Section 56, off-street loading requiring insufficient space. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Drago of Drago and Toscano with an address of 15 Broad Street. I'm here with Tartanian Brown, who's the architect in the project from Embark, and City Realty, that are the owners and developers of 114 Orleans Street. My client purchased this piece of property. It's a 7,500 square foot lot. It was always used as an industrial automotive use. It was clear that folks wanted that these gentlemen wanted to do something that was conducive to this neighborhood. It's surrounded by multifamily residential, a 7-story building on our right, and a mix of 4 and 5s throughout that neighborhood. In working with the Gove Street Association and the abutters over a period of a year, we came down from 6 stories to 5 stories and reduced our unit count from 25 to 23 units, and we have a 25 space dedicated spaces. This will be a condo project. The gross square footage is 29,385 square feet. This was approved recently this month at the last BPDA board hearing in July. I've supplied a number of abutter letters of support, but we can go over the bedroom count. It's 23 units as mentioned, and that's a mix of 1 and 2 beds. The 1 beds ranging from 550 to 850 square feet. The 2 beds ranging from 950 to 1,100 square feet. And then on the recommendation from the PDA, we have 1 handicap accessible 3-bedroom unit at 1,000 square feet. We really worked with the community on more of a traditional design. There's decking, exclusive decks for the units as you go throughout. I can go over the violations that were mentioned. The use violation, because it is a 3F district, although we are more conducive to many of the buildings around us with our unit count. Additional lot area is 17,000. We're at 5,510. FAR is 1 for that area. We're at 3.2. It is 35 feet. We're at 57.9, having come down from 6 stories. And our rear yard is 0, and our side yard on one side is 5, the other side is 0. One point to note is, in working with folks, we pulled this building in to give less massing from the sidewalk. And on our 2nd through 4th floor, we're pulled in 5 feet in the rear, 8 feet on the left, and 5 feet on the right. And then as we go to the top floor, we're pulled 5 feet in the front, 5 feet in the rear, 13 feet on the left, and 10 feet on the right. We are close walking distance to both Airport Station and Maverick T Station as well. I can pause and answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
Counselor, I understand the deck access for the top floor. What's the open space requirement for floors 4 and down?
So it would be, so 4 floors?
The 5th floor has decks.
Yep.
Right.
You want to go over some of the decking?
On the 4th floor down.
Is there any on the 4th?
No, so D'Artagnan, Brown from Embark. So the 5th floor has private decks on the side. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th do not have.
Oh, I apologize if I
Is there any roof deck access? No.
There is no, it's only for mechanical equipment. There is no common area.
Thank you.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are very good.
Any questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, on behalf of Claudia Correa, would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Judy Evans, City Council, Sal Martinez office. Council wishes to go on record in support.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union, would like to go on record in support.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
Motion for approval with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set with that proviso.
Thank you.
Calling BOA 719-031, 138 Falcon Street. This is off-street parking for one car with curb cut. Violation Article 53, Section 9, insufficient open space. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Drago Toscano with an address of 15 Broad Street, representing Mr. Oliveira, Flavio Oliveira. He's the owner and occupant at 138 Falcon Street. We're seeking to legalize an existing area in his back that's been used since he purchased the property, since before he purchased the property, as kind of an off-street parking spot in the rear on the corner of both Putnam and Falcon Street. There's no legal curb cut that's there. If you look at some of the photographs in the back, you can see that he does have that rear space. The only violation was for for open space in the back. The proposed spot would be 8 feet 5 by 20. It's for his wife. She's severely disabled. He had been wanting to do this for a while, since parking in that area is difficult, and even with handicap signage, there's so many folks in that area, it is very difficult to park. It would allow him to have a special van that he could back into that spot.
Is that spot accessible via ramp from the building?
It would be, yes, it could be.
So right now, it's not proposed to be.
There isn't a ramp in the back now, but if approved, we could have one, but
And is there parking on that side of the street on Putnam?
there is, yes.
There is.
There's parking on both sides, yeah.
Okay.
You see the BRA's recommendation on this?
I did. We had an extensive community outreach. He had so many neighbors come out to support him and his family. They've been lifelong residents for that area. So we were hoping, due to that fact.
Plans, Mr. Pizzati?
The drawings are adequate. It's a corner lot, and the access to the parking is off of Putnam Street, not off of Falcon Street.
So, I mean, the understanding is you're replacing one existing spot on the street with one off-street one.
We are, yes.
Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, John Allison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, on behalf of Claudia Correa, we'd like to go on record in strong support. All of the abutters are in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Judy Evans, City Council, Sal Martinez office. Council wants to go on record in support as well.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make a motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Sarah Street, come right up. For the record, Madam Chair, we're just going back to case BOA 696-619-303 Paris Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Daniel Glissman, attorney with Prince Lobel Ty, here on behalf of our client, T-Mobile. My apologies for the tardiness. I have some photograph simulations. Again, my apologies for the delay.
We're just waiting to see the photo simulations. I'm sure your team has informed you of it.
Correct.
In the meantime, any of the applicants who are requesting a withdrawal or a deferral for 11:30s, if you could please line up behind the podium. Go ahead. Mr. Bazzani, let's just give everybody a minute to look at the photo sims,
Okay.
because that was our question, was how these antenna
Right.
were going to be situated. So it's a complete full chimney, is that what it is?
Correct, yeah. The applicant's proposing to enclose all 9 proposed antennas within a faux chimney. It's set back from the roof. The appropriate distance is a minimum of 10 feet on one instance and 17 at the other. And they'll be connected via coaxial cabling that runs actually along the side of the building and into the basement, where they'll hold the, where they'll have the.
My reaction to this is that the faux chimney is so totally out of scale with the building that it draws much more attention. And I don't know, Jeff, whether this is a BPDA really aggressive design. I mean, it's just the massing has, an architect looking at the building, anybody looking at the building, one would not ever see that much brick up above.
So may I have a motion? Oh, sorry.
I have a question. What is the material of the faux chimney?
I don't believe that they've decided, but typically it's fiberglass screen, and it'll be painted to match. And this chimney is consistent with guidance and direction that we've gotten from the BPDA. BPDA and other similar installations. There are others in East Boston similar to this. In fact, just down the street in Orient Heights, there's a typical installation with the dimensions that are almost exactly the same.
So we're,
Are these, what is the, well, in response, sort of going along with Mr. Pisani's question, is it possible to have the faux chimney be smaller and accommodate the number of elements that you need?
The antennas one of the antennas that we will be installing is a 6-foot antenna, but they will have they need about 1.5 feet of clearance for the bend radius for the cabling when it comes down from the antenna. Plus, they typically install the remote radio heads just underneath that, which are just over 1.5 feet as well. So, but when you mount the equipment on top of,
So this is simple. That's simply a design issue.
so,
Okay, I think
we can bring this back to board final arbiter should there be any need to. So may I have a motion, please?
Well, let me just say one other thing. I mean, Mr. Earl and I made a site visit to East Boston. It has nothing to do with your project, but there's a project down there. I don't know how it was done, and I don't know who put it up, but I cannot believe for 1 nanosecond that BPDA had design review over it, and it's a disaster. It's on the corner of Orleans and Porter. And I think that just sets such a bad tone for what's being done out there that we want to make sure that it's reined in. So I'm going to make a motion for approval. Oh, do we need people?
We already had testimony.
He's done, we just
I'm
need
going to make a motion for approval and for BPDA to come up with a scheme. And before it goes ahead, you have to come back to us and we have to see what it is. So it's a tentative approval dependent on the scheme that you work out with BPDA.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that proviso.
And you have to notify us when you're coming back. We'll hold the signature until you come back.
Okay, thank you.
may I just get some clarification? Is that board of final arbiter that will be appearing back? It will be a new.
Just when the drawings have gone through BRA process, talk to Matt over there and make sure he gets the plans. Okay? Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
So this for 11:30s at the address, please?
265 Webster Street.
Let me call it in for the record. For the record, calling BOA 692-071, 265 Webster Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Attorney Laureen Scatino from Richard Linz's office, 1216 Bennington Street, East Boston. We're here today just asking for a deferral on this project. We're still doing some community outreach and working with the neighbors regarding the height on this project, and we're trying to address those concerns.
Motion to defer.
Sorry, is this your second deferral?
It is.
Okay. You know, we're keeping track of these, so please make sure that the next time you're here, it's for a final decision from us.
Will do, thank you.
Motion to defer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
Date of September 19th.
Thank you.
Address, please.
95 Calumet Street.
For the record, calling BOA 647-490, 95 Calumet Street. Name and address for the record, please.
Matthew Eckel, business address of 15 Broad Street in Boston. I'm here on behalf of Peter Vanko. I'm seeking a deferral this morning. There's been significant community outreach. However, there's been a major reduction in the unit count, and we unfortunately were not able to meet with the neighborhood group to present that project, so we'd like that opportunity to show them the most updated plans.
Is this your second deferral?
This would be the second deferral, correct?
Okay, you heard what I said before. May I have
Make a motion for deferral.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
You also have a date of September 19th.
Thank you very much.
Counselor, address, please.
231 Gold Street.
For the record, calling BOA 668-415, 231 Gold Street. Name and address for the record.
Patrick Mahoney of Adams and Moranci with the business address of 350 West Broadway.
Please tell us what are you requesting?
Requesting a deferral in this matter. There's a last-minute passageway issue that's arisen last night and this morning. We need some time to resolve it.
And this is a second deferral again?
That's correct.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to defer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The date, please.
You also have a date of September 19th.
Thank you.
Are there any other deferrals or withdrawals for 11:30 rediscussions? Hearing none, we'll call the first case for rediscussion, calling BOA 646-449, 599 Cambridge Street. Is Cambridge Street here? All right, we'll hold that one. Calling the next one, next case, BOA 585-221, 11 Laffield Street. Is Laffield Street here?
Across the street. Anybody.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 664-792, 44H to 44 Mather Street. We got a winner. This is to change occupancy from an existing single-family to a three-family and square up the building and change the third floor from a pitched roof to a flat roof. For the third floor to have some add a new stair and a new roof deck on the third floor unit only. The violations, Article 65, Section 60-8, three-family detached dwelling is forbidden. Article 65, Section 41, parking is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, lot width is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the lot frontage is insufficient. Article 65, Section 9, the floor-to-area ratio is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the height is excessive. Article 65, Section 9, the side yard is insufficient. And Article 65, Section 9, rear yard is insufficient. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is James Christopher, RCA LLC, with the project architects with the business address at 415 Neponset Ave. I'd like to give a little background to the board on this project. As we went through the neighborhood process, there was a couple of miscues with the abutters notification, and then some confusion as in regard to which civic group this actually fell under. So we were able to present to the St. Mark's Civic Group and received their support. And then through some scheduling mishaps, the second civic group, the Melville Park Group, I actually missed the scheduled the civic meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago because I had it in my calendar wrong. That being said, the project has changed substantially based on our 2 or 3 abutters meetings that we did have on site. The proposed project now is for a 2-unit building with extension of living space into the basement with 2 bi-level units and a mansard roof.
Sorry, please say that again. So it's now a 2-family, so it's a 1 to a 2-family.
Correct.
And so what does that do for your violations?
So from a violation standpoint, Madam Chair, we would still be seeking, the lot is still insufficient as it's 5,000. We have 4,513 square feet. The lot width and frontage is...
that's
correct.
Yeah. How about, and the side and rear yards, also those can be
all stay the same,
ignored?
correct.
Tell us about the FAR, the height, and the parking then.
The maximum allowable height for the building is 35 feet. With the new mansard design, we'll only be over that. We'll be right in that window of 35 feet. It's 35'2". The FAR, the required is 0.5. Our current proposed is 0.9. Currently, within the existing footprint of the building, we'll be adding approximately 2,000 and 9 square feet.
And tell us about the parking?
With the new design, we've been able to relocate an existing curb cut at the front of the property that was not in use for a driveway. So we'll have a driveway to the rear yard that accommodates 2 parking spaces.
And that meets the parking requirement?
Correct.
How are the plans, Mr. Bazzani?
Drawings are adequate.
Any questions from the board?
What is the ceiling height in the basement?
The finished height of the new basement level will be 8'2". We'll have to excavate a little bit from the existing foundation.
Oh, you're going down?
Yes, but only partially, Mr. Ehrlich. At the front end of the building, it steps up, but I think we are going to be excavating the basement to allow for a finished height of 8'2".
Yeah, on A4 it shows no basement level. Okay.
And is there still a roof deck?
No roof deck, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sean Cheatham, Councilor Andrea Campbell's office. The council believes that while this group, we received a letter from one of the civic associations nearby stating that they were opposing the project because they have yet to see the newest plans. However, the council believes that the community process was adequate. We had a very well-attended abutters meeting, the second abutters meeting that we had, where a lot of neighbors were in support of the project. We also received another letter of support from one of the other abutting civic associations, and so because of that, the council would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is David Cotter from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Would like to go on record in opposition. So just for clarity, so this particular property falls under the jurisdiction of 2 separate civic associations, the St. Mark's Area Civic Association and the Melville Park Civic Association. The proponents did meet with St. Mark's, and they did not meet with Melville Park. They, as James mentioned, they had a scheduled meeting and there was a mix-up and they didn't attend. We had several abutters meetings for the project's the original proposal was for a 3-family, which was not well received at all. Following the comments received at the abutters meetings, they brought it down to a 2-family, and the abutters meeting we had for the 2-family was well received and was supported by the abutters. However, because they have yet to meet with Melville Park, we can't support this in good conscience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else to speak in opposition? May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve with continued BPDA design review.
Second.
And I'm sure you'll meet with the community, just...
Will do, Madam Chair, yes.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 676-202, 73 Mount Vernon Street. This is to build an addition to the 3rd floor of an existing building to match exactly the 1st and 2nd floors. They're looking for relief on a pre-existing condition, past work done without a permit, that is being considered a code violation. Add a roof deck to the top of the building. The violation is Article 13-13-1. The reconfiguration of space in the basement and the proposed addition creating excessive FAR. Article 13, Section 13-1. The new addition at the rear of the side yard setback violation. Article 13, Section 13-1. The new addition at the rear is a rear yard setback violation. There is building code as to what I mentioned. This is the 8th edition, 8780 CMR, Chapter 30, Elevators and Conveying Systems. 524 CMR governs the design, the construction, the installation, alteration, and repair of elevators and conveying systems and their components. Name and address for the record, please.
Bruce Daniel, attorney representing the developer, 80 Loring Road, Weston, Mass.
Okay, there are two things. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
David Daniel, the owner, 123 Narragansett Bay Ave, Warwick, Rhode Island.
Stephen Souza, Souza Design Architects, 81 Boylston Street in Brookline.
So please, before you begin, give us a couple of pieces of information. Tell us what has happened since you were last before us, and of course, address the building code violation first.
So, just to update you as you requested, the we have had extensive interaction with the neighbors in the neighborhood, and they have essentially been opposed to almost everything we've suggested. This building right now is legally zoned as an 11-unit building. It was used as a 9-unit building. We have reduced the number of units to 4 units in our proposal. We have a building permit for the 4 units and are progressing with it, and this appeal is an amendment to that building permit. So what we have done as a result of the neighborhood input is we have eliminated the proposed addition. We have eliminated the Juliet balconies that were on the original application. We have reduced the size of the second floor deck on the L to bring it 20 feet off of the rear property line as requested by the neighborhood. And essentially, with regard to the building code violations, the plan examiner, I believe, made an error. Actually, he concedes he made an error. The building is fully sprinkled, and so therefore is exempt from the provision that he cited with regard to the lobby areas in front of the elevators.
Madam Chair, if I may. I believe that we heard about the building code at the last hearing.
And
I believe it was denied.
didn't we deny it? That's what I thought.
I think it was denied.
Okay, so
We
if it was
withdrew it.
denied,
Yeah.
let's talk about the meat of the proposal.
Okay. So basically, what is left for the code violations has to do with FAR. And so because zoning, I'm sorry, excuse me, zoning violations.
So because you've eliminated the rear addition, the side and the rear yard violations go away.
Correct.
So you have the FAR, we need to know the basement floor to ceiling height. And that third floor, is there still a roof deck that I noticed on the plans?
There is still a roof deck. The roof deck is a by right use, but it needs to be approved by the Beacon Hill Architectural Association.
And this is with that proposed head house then?
That's an existing head house.
That's an existing head house, okay.
Right.
So we don't need to take any action on it?
Correct. Yeah. The only remaining thing before the board is a.
The question is, was that head house built illegally, or do you have any track record that it's been there as a permitted part of the building?
Well, the elevator has been in the building, I believe, since the 1940s.
Okay.
And so it was built as part of the elevator system.
Okay. So tell us then about the FAR and the basement.
So essentially what we're doing, we are not creating, there's no additional space within the footprint of the building being created. We're repurposing some storage and utility space and relocating it. And essentially, because that space is not calculated apparently into the FAR calculation on Beacon Hill, because we are reducing the amount of storage by 133 feet, it becomes living space, which is an increase in the FAR.
Yes, we know that, but what's the existing FAR and what's the proposed FAR?
Existing FAR is 8,686 square feet. FAR is 2.66. The proposed is 8,819 feet, 2.7. So there's 0.04 of a percent difference.
And what's the floor to ceiling height in the basement?
7 foot 6 inches.
7'6". And what's the use in the basement?
It's living space.
What is it exactly?
Stephen?
What is it exactly?
What's the rooms made up of?
Oh, there are there are 2 bedrooms and a stud. 2 bedrooms and a living room.
Okay. And the third floor, what's happening on the third floor?
Third floor is a floor-through unit in the building, comprised of 2 bedrooms.
Okay. How are the plans, Mr. Pisani?
The drawings are, continue to be evolving and interesting. My concern is simply the use of the fire escapes. And, I mean, I do not recall seeing a building that has such extensive fire escapes, and they're being added. My understanding always was that you can't do new fire escapes. So the question is, how do we get there? And what I'm looking at the existing rear perspective, then I'm looking at the perspective proposed at June 15th, then I'm looking at the new proposed rear perspective. And in each of the scenes, the fire escapes have in fact increased. And I don't know why that's not a code violation.
I don't understand why it would be a code violation. The elevator code,
Adequate means of egress require 2 stairs that have to be a minimum of 3 foot or 3 foot 4. And these are shown as fire escapes that are 18 plus inches.
so fire escapes are an allowed means of egress in an existing building.
I am not convinced under new construction. And, and the renovation.
This is an existing-
a substantial renovation.
Mr. Pisani, under the building code, section 805.3.1.2, entitled fire escapes. Fire escapes are required, existing building code, and they are allowed as a means of egress in an existing building. This is not new construction. This is a rehab of an existing building.
But don't you trigger the percentage of construction is so great?
There is no,
To bring it up to code? And
no, there is no percentage analysis under the existing building code 2015 edition. I have a copy of it right here if you'd like.
Well, from this member's point of view, I mean, I would like to see a document from ISD that says that this is not a new violation.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is anybody here to speak in support of this proposal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Giselle Guerrero with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We would like to go on record in support, mostly contending on the fact that the proposed L addition and the roof setback has been all a cause of the community concerns, and they have conceded to that. However, there are still concerns regarding the HVAC systems up on top, which could be fixed with BPDA review design. We have received both concerns from residents who came out to the community association. We've got a letter from the Civic Association who is in opposition, although they recognize that the concession has been a big step forward. There are still certain concerns that they wish would be mitigated. So with that being said.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in opposition?
I am. My name's Nancy Adams. I'm a butter directly behind on 40 Pinckney Street. My husband, John Burgess, is not able to be here. I also have had discussions with other local neighbors, and as developers stated, there have been concerns. One, if there are updated plans, we've not seen them, any of them. We do know there were concerns expressed at the BHCA meeting about some things that were being done as well. And there is concern about a lack of internal stair and whether it's out of compliance for safety reasons, and the size of the fire escape being unusually large. And finally, the roof deck is also large and could have noise and privacy issues for the neighbors behind. So there are multiple still concerns.
So your basic concern, I mean, because so your basic concern is the size of the deck and the stairwell,
The fire escape and
okay.
and weather and safety issues there, but, and finally, the HVAC equipment, again, no knowledge where it's going to be, any noise impact.
Okay.
Those are them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is anybody else to speak in opposition? Please come forward, put your name and address on the record.
Channing Z, I'm in a butter at 44 Pinckney Street, Boston. We're in a butter in the rear, off the rear alley.
Yes, so please tell us what your
Sure,
concerns
okay.
are.
I think the problem here really is the interpretation that this gentleman is making of the code, and I think what the code really says. So let me just go back, if I may. I also think that ISD probably wasn't clear in citing the building code violation as well. What they did was they emphasized the elevator code violation. But there's two issues that are somewhat tangential, the elevator code and the building code. But it basically boils down to the fact that you have a 4 or 5-story building, which by building code says that a building, existing building or a new building, which is more than 4 stories or more, and in a multi-family situation, needs to have a major stair, and then as a major egress has to be a stair, and then it can be supplemented. The secondary egress can be supplemented by another stair or fire escapes. Now,
So we denied the building code relief that was requested.
yes.
So now we're looking, I suppose, that triggers the fire escape question that
well-
Mr. Bazzani had before.
Yes, the other problem is that this gentleman went, after you guys rejected the elevator code, and they went to actually the building codes too, as a matter of fact, but it wasn't clear at that point. They basically said they were going to take it to the state building code. And the state building code supersedes, as you know, I don't have to tell you guys that.
Yes.
So what happened was, we didn't know what happened except at a meeting at the Beacon Hill Architectural Commission, he announced that he'd been told that, and you should ask him himself rather than me, but what he said was that he was told by somebody at the State Code Commission not to bother to ask or something. I don't know, because he said he didn't receive the variance
So,
that he
Chairman, let's
requested.
just talk about this proposal that's before us, okay?
Okay.
Because we've heard about the concern about the HVAC, we've heard the concern about the deck, and anything else that is of concern to you, but beyond that?
Well, the major thing, of course, is that the building must pass the building code, and ISD cannot issue a building permit. So the two code before, I don't even know how many code violations I could go into it deeply. Anyway, so nothing starts until he gets a building permit. He can't get a building permit without satisfying these items. So aside from that, one of the problems is that I think this gentleman's been working on this project for over a year, I don't know. And he started with a demolition permit, and it just kept going on. And we didn't really know what he was doing because, from our understanding, he was just working off a building demolition permit. So after some pushing, we asked that we see some drawings, and we had meetings. It's just been a continual thing where we haven't been told we have to find out what he's doing. He doesn't tell us. He hasn't even filed drawings. He does it after the fact. So it's been a problem all the way through this. And so anyway, the point is we're down to the point now where I think we really need to talk about things which are basically basic, which is the building code. And he doesn't pass the building code requirements. And I think that's something that can be determined. You don't have to listen to me. You should get a code consultant, or he should, or something.
Okay. Thank you. Did you have a question?
Well, yeah, I mean, procedurally, we've already denied building code relief. End of story.
Oh, just now you mean, or before?
No,
At the previous meeting.
So it's not an issue.
Okay.
Now, the question is, maybe one of interpretations, Bazzani is raising the issue that the fire escape as designed may be, in fact, a building code question.
Well, okay, so the answer to that.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Mr. Daniel's indicating it's not. That's not for us to adjudicate.
Okay.
We have denied building code relief, period. So we should only address the issue of the zoning variance.
Okay.
That we don't.
So
okay.
only the zoning. So we've heard from the abutter at 40 Pinckney about a couple of issues. Did you
Sure.
have more to add to it?
Well, let me think, because as a group, we've been having to meet over and over on this thing. So, the zoning calculation which they're asking in the basement, they're asking us to legalize the situation because, first of all, this building was basically done ad hoc, I would say, but the main thing that occurred was that they actually cut off the major stair, and that's, I think, the major problem. There was a stair that started from the bottom, went all the way up to the elevator, penthouse, etc. And what they did was they cut off the top portion so that you can't get up there. And so what they're saying is they want to use a fire escape. And the code clearly says that a fire escape cannot be used as the main egress. It has to have a stair, and a stair is not a fire escape. Now, I see Mr. Daniels shaking his head, so what you should do is get a code consultant. That's what you should do.
Thank you. Hold on,
Yeah,
hold
I
on,
know.
everybody. Thank you, Charlie.
Okay.
Charming. Okay, so we've had this information. We have heard from everybody. May I have a motion, please?
I'm going to make a motion for deferral, and for the following reason. To send it back to ISD, that we get a letter from ISD, either there is a code violation or there is not.
And this is not a conversation, and this is related to the fire. Is there a second?
It's related to the egress.
Is there a second?
A point of order, Madam Chairman.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That should be fairly easy to get. What's the date, please?
Can we give them a very early date?
Yes, let's see if we can get this done quickly.
August 15th. Begin at August 15th.
Okay, August 15th, and please, as soon as possible. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling the next case, calling BOA 662-224, 191 Condor Street. There is a companion case, BOA 662-222, 211 Condor Street. This is for 191 Condor. This is to construct a new 9-unit residential building with 11 parking spaces. Violation Article 53, Section 8, MFR is forbidden in the two-family sub-district. Article 53, Section 9, insufficient rear yard setback. Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR. Article 53, Section 9, number of allowed stories and height has been exceeded. Article 53, Section 9, the front yard setback is insufficient. Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering, none is proposed. Article 53, Section 56, insufficient parking. Article 53, Section 57.3, 3 and 5 provisionals for the corner lots. This is for 211 Condor. This is a new 14-unit building with 14 parking spaces. The violation Article 53, Section 9, excessive FAR. Article 53, Section 9, maximum allowed height has been exceeded. Article 53, Section 9, front yard setback is insufficient. Article 53, Section 9, rear yard setback is insufficient. Article 53, Section 54, screening and buffering, none is proposed. Article 53, Section 56, off-street parking, insufficient parking. And Article 52, Section 8, the MFR is forbidden in a two-family sub-district. Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mark Lacasse, Lacasse Law, 75 Arlington Street in Boston. With me is Joe Hassel, who is the owner and the developer of these two proposals before you. We were last here on July 11, at which time we put on our entire case on the merits and submitted various documents to the record, but the matter was deferred at the end of the hearing based on some community opposition, which has since been resolved, and we believe that the matter is now rightly before you for decision on the merits.
So what was the opposition based on?
The opposition was from the Carpenters Union, and that led to questions from the board members about the composition of our development team.
Okay, so may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve with continued DPDA design review.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You're all set with that proviso.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go back to the two cases I called earlier. Case BOA 646-449, 599 Cambridge Street. Is Cambridge Street here? I'll make a motion for denial without prejudice.
Second.
And the next case,
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next case, BOA 585-221, 11 Laffield Street. Is Laffield Street here? I'm going to make a motion for denial without prejudice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Call-
Motion carries.
Calling the next case for interpretation. There's two cases, same address. I'm going to call them both in for the record. Calling BOA 711-997-823 East Broadway. And case BOA 715-867-823 East Broadway. For the record, this is the petitioners. Both seek a determination that the Inspectional Service Department erred in issuing the permit. The permit was issued as an allowed use. I'm going to ask everybody to give their name and address. That's part of this process.
May I have the applicants at the table for BOA number 711-997, George and Mary, and are you representing them? Okay, Mr. McCarthy, have a seat. And,
Seats have been taken, but it's okay.
well, I'm sure we could find room for you at the table. And then, the interpretation number 715867 is, who is representing those, the Barber family?
I'm representing both, Madam Chairman.
Okay, you're representing the, both interpretations then?
Correct. And my understanding was that since it involves the same address and same permit, that they would be taken together?
And that is hopefully my assumption too.
Okay.
Okay, so is everybody here at the table? May I have everybody put their name and address on the record, please?
Sure. Madam Chair, members of the board, William McCarthy, 5 Cross Road, Orleans, Mass. Again, representing George and Mary Balakonis, 825 East Broadway, and John Forbes Barber as condo trustee and unit owner on behalf of himself and the other unit owners of 825 East Broadway.
I'm sorry, what would the address for the Balcones?
821.
820, so
I have them reversed, I apologize. 825 for Balakonis, 821 for the
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Barber and unit owners.
Okay, thank you.
Also with me, if I may, is next to me Mr. Michael Clifford, professional land surveyor with DGG Survey Group of Boston.
Okay.
And to his left, Mr. Peter Sugar, registered architect, member of the AIA and the Royal Institute of British Architects, and a former partner with the Ann Bea architectural firm here in Boston.
Okay, thank you. Let's have the introduction from the rest of the table.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Don Wiest with the Dane Torpy firm, 745 Atlantic Avenue in Boston. With me is my colleague Mike McDermott, and also the proponent of the project at 823 East Broadway, Patrick Mahoney.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. McCarthy, start off telling us about what the, is anybody here from ISD, by the way? Is there representation here from ISD? No. Okay. Mr. McCarthy, can you start off by telling us what the concerns are and what triggered this interpretation?
Yes, Madam Chair, with pleasure. The two appeals are citizen appeals of a building permit that had already been issued prior to the filing of these permits. The permit number being ALT 675164 for 823 East Broadway, issued to the then owner, Patrick Mahoney. Both appeals relate to that property. They also share common grounds for the appeals, with the one exception that in the appeal for 825, which is BOA 711997, the matters relating to the state building code need not be addressed at this meeting insofar as a permit amendment has addressed the maintenance of the existing fire balcony that adjoins 820 823 and 825. So that, at the time, was made part of the appeal, but is sort of moot, if you will, for today's purposes.
Okay, so tell us what are the other items?
There are two common grounds for both appeals. The first one is that the building permit was issued in violation of Municipal Code Section 7-4.11, otherwise known as the 100-foot rule for the Parks Commission. It by its terms, specifies that review and approval of a project, the lot line of which is within 100 feet of a public park, requires application and approval prior to the issuance of a building permit. In this instance, not only was that not undertaken, but conveniently the project description in the building permit application makes no reference to the fact that the existing building closest to the park has been completely gut renovated for review.
So this is gut rehab, and what's the open space? What is triggering the 100 feet? Is there a park?
The proximity to the city park across East Broadway, the M Street Park, I believe it's called.
Okay, and what's the second issue?
The second is that in each appeal, it's stated that certain of the plans and specifications submitted with the building permit application were either deficient and/or materially inaccurate. Specifically, the elevations and the building sections, which are in your handout sample, and we have a full set of plans for Mr. Pisani. Specifically, those drawings are inaccurate with respect to building height, as that term is defined in Article 2A of the zoning code. As a result, the accurate building height of the addition proposed for 823, actually under construction, if you will, had it been submitted to ISD for zoning review, would have resulted in a refusal of the application and the need for a variance from this board for building height excessive. To evidence this point, rather than just contend it, I would first like to call upon Mr. Michael Clifford to my left to discuss.
Please, no, before we do that,
Certainly.
I just want to know what specifically, without a long conversation, what specifically is the inaccuracy? Is it 40 versus 45 feet? What is it?
As the survey will show, it is at a minimum 40 feet 6 inches based on the definition of building height for a flat roof building. Moreover, we will show that based on the architectural analyses that the height is in fact higher than 40 feet 6 inches. So
What is it? What do you contend it is?
42 feet 9 inches is the contended height.
Okay. And so these look like they're all connected row houses, is that what it is?
That is correct.
And does the height is consistent along the roof line?
As that picture shows, you are correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, so, okay. I think, so those are the two issues that you're concerned with, is the M Street Park and the height which you suggest is 40 feet 6 inches, but where the plans show 40 feet 6 inches, whereas in fact you're suggesting the height is 42 feet 9 inches.
As Mr. Clifford will explain, the height shown on the plan submitted with the permit application suggests a 38-foot 8-inch height as defined roof.
So 38 foot, what, 8 inches?
Yes, and
Okay.
if you note, the ISD hand-drawn at the top notes that a proposed roof deck was eliminated, which is why it was not proposed to be 40 feet, and as a result, 38.8.
Okay. Okay, so can we hear from the owner of 823?
Madam Chair, if
We'll come back to you, don't worry.
for our,
We'll come back to you.
okay.
Don't worry.
I defer to you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, let's take the issues one at a time. We have copies for the board of the park statute. Fortunately, it's short. It's not a lengthy thing to pass around. We can hand this in. I'll give a copy to fellow counsel, Ms. McCarthy here. The statute does not require that a permission from parks be obtained before a building permit is issued, just to be.
So can you please backtrack? So
Sure.
my understanding is this is a gut rehab. Is that true?
This is a rehab. There's no change to the facade. It's an internal rehab with an extension out the back.
Okay.
So the addition is invisible from the park because it's behind the building. Nonetheless, the project did get reviewed by Parks.
Okay.
And Parks has reviewed it and determined that there was no impact from their standpoint.
Do we have evidence of that?
It is in the Hanscom system that ISD has. Mr. Mahoney, anything to add about
Yes,
the Parks?
Madam Chair, the first permit application did not trigger a Parks review in Hanson, although I did speak to Executive Secretary Carrie Marsh, and it was determined, along with Commissioner Cook, that there was no impact to the park. And in the amendment, they created a review as it's an alteration, so one didn't automatically generate, and it is reflected in that amendment. However, before the amendment, yet after the permit was issued, the Parks review took place and the determination was made that there was no impact. Some of the members of the plaintiffs here should be aware of that. They called Parks and spoken to them directly.
Okay.
So essentially,
We'll
Madam
get
Chair,
back to you. Don't worry. Go ahead.
there seems to be a question by the plaintiffs about whether Parks made the correct decision here. We would just submit that Parks is able to interpret its own statute in cases like this. Presumably, they assume that because there's no visible change to the buildings from the park, this addition purely to the rear, and it's a solid wall of brownstones, that they didn't need any further review. But that was the park's decision interpreting their own jurisdiction.
Okay. And the second issue is the height.
We have extensive information. We're prepared to present on height. It might make sense to hear more from the plaintiffs in terms of what their concerns are. We're prepared to demonstrate that we measured height as the code requires from the sidewalk, and that the addition is completely consistent with that.
So that the addition is completely consistent.
It
with
is.
that.
In fact, we have a diagram. We might as well pass it out
Okay,
right now.
Okay.
And what is that height?
I'm sorry?
What is that height?
So the required maximum building height is 40 feet. We're at 38 feet, 8 inches. I'll give the diagram to Mr. McCarthy here as well, and we'll pass this in for the board. The height, the board should be aware, the height was measured from the sidewalk, which is as the code requires.
Okay. We'll give you a couple of minutes for your team to look at that. And go ahead. Did you have any? So go ahead and continue your
Well, they quickly examine that, and we'll do this in all due haste. I'd like to clarify or ask the permit holder to clarify that my conversation with the Parks Commission and their review of their records, and this was well past the issuance of the permit, it was actually at the time of the filing of the citizen appeal, that they had no record whatsoever of an application having been made. The inference I draw from the comments I heard is that perhaps something was done after the issuance of the permit. However, that is not how Municipal Code Section 7-4.11 reads. Prior to the issuance of building permits. So if there was some remedial approach, again, to the point, it should have happened before, and it's all for the purpose that in the event that someone proposes a project that would have an impact on the park, it's essential for the commission to review it beforehand and not after the fact. So that's just speaking to that issue.
Mr. McCarthy, if I could just respond to that.
No, please, just finish your statement so that we can get you completely on the record.
With respect to the grounds of appeal based on the park's 100-foot rule, I completed my statement, so.
Okay, do you have one question, Mr. Ehrlich?
Just to sort of clarify, is your concern that the process wasn't followed correctly? That is, that they contacted protected parks too late in the process, or are you contesting what the substance of the park's response was? Because those are two different things.
Exactly, sir. The contention and the information provided by the commission is that prior to the issuance of the permit, no application for review.
Okay, but so it's about timing. It's not about, do you agree with the other side that they didn't have a problem with it?
Well, if they approached the commission after the fact, then the problem is in the order of events, if you will. So you have that distinction correct, sir.
So you have a question then about process, and this is because of the rear addition and the 100 feet? Or?
So process process with respect to violation of the Parks Commission rule.
And this is because of the rear extension? Or what is it related directly to?
The fact that the permit application only describes a rear addition and makes no reference to substantial renovation of the existing building, but you are correct to summarize that I think we are arguing over it should have occurred before, as it states, and it did not, but...
Are you in agreement about the outcome and the opinion of the park?
That upon subsequent review, it was determined that, I think that is a correct determination.
Okay.
Insofar as the building facade does not change, and one could argue that there is no impact on the park as a result.
So then if the facade has no, okay, go ahead, Counselor. Did you have a response?
I just want to clarify two things. We passed out 7-4.11, which is the statute in question, which sets out the 100-foot rule. Ms. McCarthy has a copy of it as well. It doesn't mention a building permit at all. It doesn't set any timeline relating to building permit. It does say that prior to work beginning, there needs to be approval. However, the proponent did reach out to Parks in advance of the building permit being issued, and certainly in advance of work starting. It may be that Mr. McCarthy is not finding a record of an application because Parks does not bring every project in the city of Boston within 100 feet of a park to its board. That would be an impossible volume of cases. They wouldn't be able to manage that. They make an administrative decision about which cases need to come before the board. There was a discussion with the executive secretary, Carrie Marsh, who's a longtime staffer there with a lot of experience in their jurisdiction and which issues Parks cares about from an institutional standpoint. Parks determined whether they would want to bring this to their board and whether they saw any impacts, and they informed the proponent of this, and that decision was made before the permit in question issued. We just want to clarify this did take place before, although again, the real key is that Parks make this decision before work starts, as the statute says.
Okay, so let's move to the
Madam Chair,
height.
my only follow-up comment is that I don't see any evidence in the record of that, so argument is being made from this side, but I think that we can move on to a matter, the second grounds, which we have experts here.
Yes,
I understand
so
the other side
please-
does as well.
Yes, please go ahead on the height.
So, if I may call upon Mr. Michael Clifford to approach his survey taken of 823 with measurements both front and rear. Michael?
Is that in the package that we have before us?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
It's unfortunately horizontal, if you will, but
Do you have a copy we can see? We've never seen this.
So go ahead.
So I was hired by my client to number one review plans from the 823 project. We need to take some limited measurements. Starting at the sidewalk, I held the benchmarks from the project's plans, the site plan, and did some checking. And I came up with a grade elevation at the 823 building that agrees with what the project plan showed. Basically, you see 56 feet, 1.5 inches. That is the grade, the average grade from the building at the back sidewalk that we're talking about. So that is the working grade for height determination. I do not have access to the 823 property building, so I made an assumption, I'll make clear, that the first floor grade, which is not in the plans, by the way, assumption where I take that 38 feet 8 inches and add it to my presumed grade, assumed grade, and the further, and I'm coming up with 40 feet 6 inches. I'm sorry,
You're
96
coming up-
feet 10 inches as the grade.
What are you coming up with?
I'm coming up with an elevation of 96 feet 10 inches.
Yes, okay.
Which is 40 feet 6 inches above the grade that we seem to agree on. So 40 feet 6 versus 40 feet 8.
Okay.
Let's accept my measure.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may next call upon Mr. Peter Sugar, registered architect, to discuss in further detail his analyses of the plans filed with the permit application, as well as his own professional measurements.
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I want to re-emphasize that these three buildings, 821, 823, and 825, were built at the same time, and they have a consistent elevation right across. You can see on the roof line, you can see on the windows, and this is critical because that's the only way we can deal with 823's elevations, but we will not allow to enter that building. So based on that, and based on Mr. Clifford's establishing the sidewalk elevation, because the average is 56 foot 4 inches, which you don't have on your, that you have on your on his survey for you. And I would now like to go to I was asked by Mr. Five, the owners of 825, to take some actual dimensions in 821 and 825. You have that in your spindle, and you will see that the floor elevations are very similar, going vertically up from the first floor to the ceiling line. And if you add those dimensions together, which I took the liberty of doing, it doesn't show on my drawing, that in 825, the total from the finished first floor to the ceiling is 39 foot 10 and a half inches. And in 821, those same dimensions add up to 39 foot 8 and a half inches, so within 2 inches of each other. So getting the mean between those two, I assumed it to be 39, 9 and a half in number 823, which I couldn't take dimensions of because I couldn't get it there. So now we also should look at this drawing, which is also in your packet, which is drawing 8300. It's on the applicant's building permit drawings. And you will notice that they show that the ceiling line, or the existing ceiling line inside 823, is carried through on the same elevation for the proposed addition in the back. And the question now is, what should be assumed? I have to say assumed because in the application for building permit there was no detail. What is the thickness from the ceiling to the top of the roof structural member that is required by, that's the one to take the dimensions to which to establish a building height. And my assumption there is it's about 1 foot 2 inches plus or minus, allowing about a couple of inches for ceiling construction, and assuming say 2 by 12 ceiling joists or roof joists under the roof.
What was that again? 1 foot, 1.5 foot, did you just say?
Sorry, ma'am.
Did you say plus or minus 1.5 foot?
I'm saying plus or minus 1 foot 2.
1 foot 2, okay? Okay.
So now if we take those all together, we
Yeah.
start with the survey dimension of 56 foot 4, 6 inches on the back of the sidewalk, and 58 foot 2, as Mr. Clifford presented, for the finished first floor elevation. That's 1 foot 10. So if you take 1 foot 10 and add to that the 39 foot 9.5 inches, which I talked about a few minutes ago, and add to that the foot 2 plus or minus we also just demonstrated, you come up with a total of approximately 42 foot 9 inches. And I'm using that dimension rather than 38 foot 8 because the 38 foot 8 is a figure dimension but has no proof behind it.
Right.
Because I based my dimensions on actual measurements I took in 821 and 825, and I believe therefore that the total height is 42 foot plus or minus 9 inches rather than 38 foot 8. Thank you very much.
So versus 38.8, okay? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. McCarthy?
Madam Chair, having had a chance to review the drawing that council was kind enough to share, it seems that part of this differential lies in having different starting elevation points from which to measure the vertical height as defined in Article 2A. The drawing we've been presented shows 55.63 feet as opposed to 56 feet 6.5 inches. So we have a discrepancy. I know that the board and Architect Pisani sort of understands these nuances quite clearly. What it all comes down to is that with a 40-foot maximum allowed as of right building height in that sub-district, a measured building height in excess of that, we believe is grounds for revocation of the permit, insofar as had it been presented and refused by ISD, there would be the need to come before you for a variance from the building height requirement in the code.
Mr. Ehrlich.
Is it you're then understanding that the existing conditions of the existing buildings are in excess of the zone of what's permissible? Because from what I understand, they simply carry the roof line, the ceiling line across.
The distinction, sir, being that the definition of building height varies depending on what the type of roof of the structure is. So we have a sloped roof existing building, and if I recall, it's the midpoint of the vertical triangular area above the roof beams. In a flat roof building, it is to the top of the roof beams. So here we're.
But answer my question.
Yes.
So that the existing conditions of have they never built the addition that you're saying is actually above the permissible height?
You should
So-
exceed
But the
Based
building,
on your calculations?
it exceeds it, but it would be grandfathered as.
No, I understand that. I mean, that's not for us to, but I just wanted to be clear about that.
The interesting point, if I may, is that the plans of the addition marrying, if you will, the existing structure show the roof beams lining up. And if indeed, as you point out, the existing building is in excess of the building height as defined, and we have an addition that is matching beam to beam, it's part of how Mr. Sugar came to his conclusion that in any event, the height is in excess of 40 feet.
Okay, so, so your concern is that the addition exceeds the required building height, essentially.
The allowed,
So
yes.
what is the allowable building height and how much is this exceeding it by?
The allowed under the zoning for that subject is 40 feet.
And what is this?
According to the survey, 40 feet 6 inches. According to the architectural analysis, 42 foot 9. So,
Okay. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So we have one height that says 40.6, 40 feet 6 inches, correct? We have another height that says 42.9, correct? Why is it that you guys are having a hard time picking a height?
well, in both cases in excess of the zoning. The distinction here is the measurement, and Michael can speak to this, what he measured with his measurement instruments goes to a certain point in the roof of the building. And what Mr. Sugar is talking about is in the addition where the height of the roof beams is, and that happens to be higher than the 40 foot 6 inches that the survey measurement take. So we were trying to point out with the survey that it is in excess of the allowed height from the survey point of view, and supplementally, it is in actuality even higher because of measuring a flat roof from the top of the highest roof beams.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we may be able to explain
Yes,
some of the confusion here.
please talk it through, because it seems that there could be an easy solution to this, but please talk to us and tell us what the different perspective is.
Sure. First of all, it actually looks like we have pretty similar survey elevation points for the sidewalk. If you look at the diagram we circulated, the area of the sidewalk is called out with shading. It goes from the red line we measured from, which is at the curb, back to where the stoop begins for the building. There's an area that's shaded there. That's the sidewalk. We took our elevation point conservatively. We took it from the curb. The sidewalk rises. The sidewalk is sloped to shed water. It's actually higher at the house side. It appears that they took the elevation at what they're calling the back of the sidewalk, which is higher than where we took it. So we actually used a conservative measurement that would bring our height down. Had we used their height, we actually could have built slightly higher. They are comparing the adjoining buildings, the adjacent buildings to ours. What they may have overlooked is the fact that if you look on that plan, the first floor doesn't have that extremely high ceiling height of the original buildings. For comfort and one floor living, the revised plans have a consistent floor level all the way through. The original joists have been removed from the existing building, and the ceiling heights will be lowered at the lower levels in that existing building. So going to the adjacent buildings and basically drawing lines across and making estimations about what the height would be floor to floor on a building isn't accurate. You can see it in this diagram with the red line if you just look at how the window heights line up and the fact that the floors are relatively regular in height. So there's some assumptions being made about how the height carries over that are not accurate. And all we can tell you is we measured this very conservatively from the low point right at the curb. We could have gone with a slightly higher point. We have 4 stories of a more modern ceiling height rather than the old style of building with a really towering first floor and then shrinking heights as the building goes up. And so it's just not accurate to compare these.
Okay, so looking at this plan that you submitted, that in fact the addition, because of because it negates the variance in heights at 825 and 823, as shown in this submittal by the abutters, in fact, your height you're maintaining is still 38 foot 8 inches because of the leveling of everything.
That's correct, and that does take into account 2 things, Madam Chair. One is we removed the roof deck that would have originally brought the height higher, and it's also called out here on our drawing. Part of the perceived height is a parapet. That's above the top roof beam. There is a parapet that shields the upper edge of the roof. That's not part of the calculated building height. That is part of what may be seen on the plans there.
Mr. Weiss, your point about the sloping sidewalk, if anything, the fact that you're starting at the low point should add to the height, not subtract to the height.
You're saying you're at the high point and they're at the low point. Is that what you just said?
No.
The other way around, okay.
We're at the low point, Ms. Ehrlich, because if we move towards the building, that red line would start at a slightly higher point. If you measured 40 feet from a higher point on the lot, we could actually go higher. We've taken a conservative number. But it looks like we have essentially the same points because all of our survey points in agreement that the grade rises from the curb to the edge of the property line.
Mr. Ehrlich, if I may, and the board, these dimensions in grade are precision with instruments. These are not assumptions, as the planners have made. We do not assume what the first floor is. The existing elevations have been all removed. The existing floors have been removed to accommodate the drawing.
Let me clarify what I was saying, which is if that's the explanation of the discrepancy should be even greater because if they're measuring from the bottom of the stoop, it's a higher elevation to begin with.
That's correct, Mr. Ehrlich.
And so if they're coming up with 42.6 or 42.9, whatever it is, then that's a substantial difference.
It's because they're working off the existing building, which has very high floor-to-ceiling heights, particularly in the lower levels, and they're assuming those are carried all the way through. The original existing building is quite a bit taller than 40 feet. In fact, you can see, we don't have a measurement here, but you can tell looking above the red line, it must go up to 45 feet or so. And we have not carried those heights through. It's simply a lower building in the back, and the lower floors go all the way through. So it's not accurate to look at the neighboring buildings, which have the original 100-year-old floor-to-ceiling height, add those up, and then say we must be building to those same heights. That's an assumption, and it's understandable why they made that assumption, but that's not how we've designed this building.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, may I respond?
Yes.
And I'd like to ask Mr. Sugar to comment, but we have different starting grades according to the definition in the zoning code of grade. And what is also important is that the only grade that matters, whether we're talking about the addition in the back where the land slopes down or the addition or the existing building, is the grade at the front of the building at the sidewalk level and the average of the grades. Mr. Clifford has reviewed the plan and disagrees with the points taken for determining the average grade in the drawing that Mr. Weiss handed out. So, and Mr. Sugar asked if he could offer an additional comment.
Please go ahead.
May I?
Yes.
I have some concern about what was said by, sorry, gentleman, you sir.
Yes.
Because he implies that there are some extreme heights in the existing building that are not necessarily the same as in the contemporary way today. We would not build floors that high. Talking, if you like, about the second floor that's 11 foot 8 and the third floor is 10 foot 11 and a half. If you lower those, you could arrive at 38 foot 8. But the problem is, if you looked at the elevation of the building, and you saw that earlier, the sill heights of the existing buildings are going to stay where they are. If you start dropping the floors, you're going to have sill heights that could be 2 or 3 feet or 2 feet up from where they normally would be in a normal building. So if instead, when you sit in your living room, you try and look out, you have a sill height of 4 or 5 feet, that is not going to be very attractive to inside. So I question that particular approach, and I don't believe it really can be achieved.
It's a design trade-off, but it is true if you look at the third floor, the sill height is a bit high, but we don't believe it will be unpleasant or unappealing. But there is an advantage.
Beyond the aesthetics of it, it's still beyond the aesthetics. What are you saying?
What we're saying is the addition floor heights should be determined based off what is shown on this diagram and not the original floor heights in the original building.
Or assumptions.
Yeah, and these are assumptions using 100-year-old adjacent buildings and what their heights on a building that we agree is well over the building height today. The original building is about 45 feet high, and that's why if you add up all those floor heights, you get something that would be higher than 40 feet if you carry that through to our building, even assuming that our top floor were lower. But that's not how this building has been designed. All the internal joists have been removed. It's going to be rebuilt on the interior with a consistent floor height for one level living, which a number of buyers are looking for. They don't want to traverse stairs, even small stairs. You can age in place with a completely consistent floor level, and that's what these units will have. So it's simply not correct to make assumptions based on adjacent buildings that have not got renovated about what the height of this building is. This is what we submitted to ISD. This is what we're authorized for. Frankly, if we build over 38 foot 8, ISD should enforce this for being in violation. But this has been designed differently from the adjacent buildings. It is not the same design of the original floor-to-floor height, and assuming that it is incorrect.
Okay. Any other questions? Are we ready for a motion? After all that information, may I have a motion, please?
Having listened carefully and understood, I'd like to make a motion that ISD did not err. ISD did not err in issuing the permit.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with that decision.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we have one case on the hearings and recommendations, but I don't know if the applicant has left. She was here, and I don't see her.
Okay. Well, let's go with the, with all the other stuff that we can get accomplished.
Sure. All right, Madam Chair, we had a hearing on the subcommittee on July 20th of last week, and I will call each one in for a hearing.
Excuse me, we still have other cases. Can we go ahead, please?
Calling the first case, BOA 673-659, 52 Murdoch Street. It was a proposed deck within the required side yard. It was approved. BOA 717-854, 16 Harvard Avenue was a off-street parking requirement. It was approved. Case BOA 720-365, 2 Cerdon Avenue. It was a building height excessive addition, 28 by 20 addition rear of the house. It was approved. BOA 722-371, 657 West Roxbury Parkway. It was combined lots. It was approved with BPDA. Case BOA 707-666, 144 Aldrich Street. There was 2 dormers and a second floor remodel. It was approved. BOA 711-25, sorry, that's the case we were supposed to hear today. I will go back to that one. Case BOA 700-967, 9 Valley Road. It was 1-story addition in the rear of a single-family residence. It was approved with BPDA. BOA 717-846, 10 National Street. It was reframed, reinforced exterior walls and floor systems. It was approved. The building code, I believe this is building code, it was denied. Case BOA 717-845, 10 National Street. Building code was denied.
Yes, it was.
Case BOA 722-593, 1 Ringgold Street. It was a extension of, due to an extension of a structure, restricted roof regulations and open roof deck. It was approved with BPTA. Case BOA 717-596, Armory Street was a installation of a new shed dormer, a new roof deck. It was approved. Case BOA 701-927, 106 Elm Street. It was a change of occupancy from a newspaper store to office. I'm sorry, no, finished basement and playroom. It was approved. And the rediscussion was BOA 664-957, 289 Washington Street. It was deferred till 8/24/2017. And there was, the lady for, the applicant for Seymour Street was here, Madam Chair, but I think we took so long at that last case that she had to leave.
Okay. So besides Seymour Street, may I have a motion to accept the recommendations?
Make a motion to concur with the recommendations of the subcommittee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can we make sure that Seymour Street, given the extent of the last case, the hearing, can we make sure that she is back at the next meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think that concludes our business.
Madam Chair, if I, let's go off record. Conclude.
Meeting is adjourned.
Jeff?
Hold on.